We've got Literature Devil here this morning on Midnight's Edge in the morning. We got some more info on the future of Warner Brothers and HBO Max. Amelia Clark is introducing you to the future of female superheroes. And a whole lot more this morning on Midnight's Edge in the morning. Good morning, everybody. How are you? Good morning, Andre. How are you doing?
I'm doing excellent. It's actually good afternoon, even early evening for me, but thanks for that. And we have fake name. Actually got the notification in time, so fantastic, awesome.
Yeah.
But feel free to share the link anyway, because
Please.
You can never trust the YouTube notifications in these live shows or anything else for that matter. Yeah. But anyway, I'm good. How about you, Tom?
I'm doing the best I can. I'm doing even better now that we're sitting here with the one, the only Literature Devil. How are you doing this morning?
I'm pretty good. All kinds of nonsense. So I'm very, very happy.
Well, you've already had quite the morning already because for some of you who may know, Literature Devil goes live at 7 o'clock my time every morning.
Yeah, pretty early. Good little morning show. Been fun.
Yeah, you guys always have some interesting conversations over there. But yeah, anything new other than the show going on lately that you're doing over there, or just been working on the show? Any writing lately or anything like that?
Working on my comic, Dr. Alpha. That one's getting another batch ready to go to the colorist. It's almost done. I just ordered the shirts. The asking about my evil agenda shirts. I just ordered all those, so it should be here sometime mid-month. And I've been working on a new video titled "Lit Dev's 12 Rules for Writing," so it should be fun.
Yeah, well, that sounds awesome. And no, I'm not in California, but I'm just doing the California time as we say hello to Fake Name, and we got Six and 70s Rock Fan and so many others of our favorites in the house. We got Natasha here, of course. We got Brad DL, Fractal Jack, House of Trades. Good morning, Golgo 13. One of our wonderful members here at the channel. We got Mags as well, speaking of members. We also had a super chat right away from Nikki D. We probably had a couple before that as well, maybe, but we'll get to this one since it's on screen here. Nikki D says, sadly, Loki was narratively incomprehensible. Oh, did I forget to mention Loki was on last night? Oh, yeah, Loki was on last night. Hiddleston and Wilson were enjoyable enough, but their performances could not overcome the nonsense. I think we're going to get into that, right, Andre?
Yeah, we are. We can actually bring up a super chat, the super chat prior to that right away. HyperGuyver2 once says, Andre, please say Frankensteinian abomination. Yeah, that's kind of what Loki appears to be based on the early reactions. I haven't seen it myself. It's a series I was looking forward to, not so much anymore. Not since WandaVision, but I'll watch it out of pure obligation, not to the MCU or anything like that, but just to you guys, so that we can better tear it a new one. Because by the sounds of it, that's what's going to happen. So yeah, and then Mexican Iron Man also says, "Welcome everybody. Let's have a good show." Yeah, we are indeed going to have a great show today.
I haven't seen Loki. The only thing I know about it is that they had a dossier about him where they put his gender identity or whatever on it.
Yeah,
or he's gender fluid or something. And they want us to take that seriously, which is incredible to me. I can imagine Nick Fury or Cecil from Invincible having like a Omni-Man a dossier and then having his gender on there or something like that. He has a gender identity on there. Omni-Man, gender fluid. Like, that doesn't make any sense. That's kind of This is funny. This is funny to me.
Mine says super sis. Anyway, how you doing, Script Doctor? Good morning.
Good morning. I'm doing well. How's everybody doing today?
You're not late. I just forgot to send you the link.
Oh, okay.
I saw you in the chat.
Devil.
Yeah. Nice to meet you too.
Oh, you two have never met. Oh my goodness. Well, let me introduce you. Literature Devil. This is Script Doctor, Literature.
Hello.
Good morning.
Hello.
So we also have well, go ahead, Andre. I can't.
Yeah, we also have who says, hi gents, hello everyone. And it's such a pleasure to have you here. And Stephen Otten also says, hail, Andre, Tom, Literature Devil, Wrenches and Midnighters. I'm sure he means Script too. You just popped in the second after this was sent. Yeah. Apparently, Loki is a bigger threat than Thanos. Yeah, that makes sense. Again, I still haven't heard Loki, but thanks for the spoilers, I guess.
Yeah, I haven't watched it.
Or for softening the blow, however one chooses to look at it. So yeah, I do have a strong hunch that's something that we'll be cutting into later on, quite badly as well.
Did you watch Loki, Script Doctor? Because I know the three of us haven't. You're the only one we haven't asked yet.
Oh, yeah, I watched it. It's something.
How was it?
It has some of the dialogue charm of an MCU film, but it's still got all the flaws of the TV side of things for Marvel, especially recently. They have this trial that doesn't seem to make any sense. It's a kangaroo trial, but it raises the question where if you are an anachronism or some sort of variant with regards to the timeline, you have to go to a trial and justify how you became a variant, even though you have no idea of the law or the fact that that's a thing. And it's all inconsequential because you either get, reintegrated somehow or reset or disintegrated.
So basically, kind of like if you violate one of YouTube's rules and laws.
Perhaps, yeah.
More or less, yeah.
They don't tell you what you're charged with.
You stole fizzy lifting drinks.
You lose.
But figure it out and do better.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Except YouTube doesn't really give you a chance to talk. It's just like, okay, well,
no, that's like the thing that here at least there was like a trial, however much of a sham. This platform doesn't have those things.
YouTube just kind of pretends to listen and then just says, you know what, we're not going to read it. We're just going to say you're wrong.
Yeah, technically YouTube would function more properly towards like a time protection agency, because it doesn't matter that you broke something. They just have to fix it and you would never know otherwise, so to speak. Or if you did, you at least be helpless to do anything about it. But here, it's like dangling a carrot in front of you of a hope of some sort of chance, but it's really not there at all.
No, it's true. Mama Susan is Willy Wonka. We don't know the rules because we didn't read them because they're in such small writing. Yeah, and even then you can still read them, but they're like reading a law book. Everything is so like everything is like inclusive. No matter what it is, it's like, and we can change the rules at any given time. You know, it's like, that's great. Nicholas Horton says, "Hail, panelists. That was probably female Loki at the end of the episode. Knowing Marvel, the MCU is here." Well, I think we already kind of know, Nicholas, that that's a plausibility from a lot of things we've been hearing. But I have no. What do you guys have? Script Doctor, since you saw it.
It'd be interesting for them to make a female character the villain.
But then she won't be. She'll be a bad guy.
She'll be the anti-hero.
Well, the other part too, the time variant agency is also clearly not a good thing.
No, you were going to say something, literature double?
Oh, I'm just going to say there's going to be like Cruella de Vil, or all the other bad guys that are women that they've made. They're suddenly, all of a sudden, they're good guys, or misunderstood, or they're right or justified because they're angry enough or something. You'd be a bad guy, and then all of a sudden, bam, you got justification.
Yeah, I can't remember who said it, but I saw somebody online on Twitter post out like, do they keep forgetting that Loki was supposed to be a bad guy or something like that?
There's that. And then on top of that, you also have the other aspect, which is a lot of the administration and the authorities involved are all women too. So it's woman versus woman. It's not like taking down the patriarchy or anything of that nature. I don't know if Marvel's quite aware of what they're trying to do with their messaging, if there is any.
Interesting. So yeah, I haven't seen it yet. Andre hasn't seen it yet. Neither is Literature Double, but
I will be seeing it, and I think we'll probably have a live stream instantly afterwards or something to, like, I don't know, share our grief or share our feelings or something like that. Because by the sounds of it, and I was suspicious because again, we had all of these headlines like, "Oh, look, here's how much the critics love Loki," and in this day and age, when I have learned to distrust movie critics, as horrible as that sounds, if something is getting too much praise, then something is very, very wrong with it. It's a reaction I've learned to develop.
Yeah.
Not proud of it.
So Grace Randolph liked it. Hyper Guyver 2 says it's literally Loki plus Time Cop. All good stuff. All right, well, that doesn't turn me off, at least, I guess.
Well, that sounds pretty decent.
I don't know what Script Doctor's explaining here. I don't know.
And I didn't get much Time Cop in there, but I guess you could do it. There are some similarities to some other stuff. There's some special effects similarities to the DC version of a time traveling show. And I don't know. At this point, I mean, the one thing it's doing is that it has it's about an hour long, 40 to 50 minute thing. So at least it's worthy of
Well, wasn't this 2 episodes in one or something like that?
No, for
no, it was a single
they
episode.
got to see 2. They got to see 2 episodes. Only one has been released to the public.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Shows you how much I care. I really have checked. To be honest, I'll have to either bug my kid for his password and all that stuff or whatever. Because I canceled my Disney Plus with the whole Gina Carano thing. Never watched Falcon Winter Soldier. Never finished watching WandaVision. So I guess that's my other big question. Do I have to have seen Falcon and Winter Soldier to get into this?
I don't think so. I think
it doesn't sound like it, but
no.
Yeah, sorry.
No, but it does seem like it's also another step towards the multiverse of madness.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. That probably is going to, if not tie into, then at least tacitly serve towards setting that up, I would imagine.
Yeah. And we got another super chat here from the one, the only. Well, help me out here, Andre.
From the one and only, who says, in the introduction, the TVA felt like an organization from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. That's not what I want to hear in conjunction with Loki.
Oh, no.
Now, to be clear, I'm a huge fan of the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy original books. The movie, not so much, with the exception of Stephen Fry as the narrator of the book itself. Isn't there a reboot of that in development for
They've
Amazon
been trying for a while or something like that?
No, I think it's
Hulu. Hulu.
Is it Hulu?
I think it was for Hulu, but I have no idea where it's going to be elsewhere. So yeah.
Hopefully they don't succeed. Hopefully it just stays dead.
I know, right? The Hitchhiker's Guide is one of those kind of properties where, for every 5th try they've done, they finally get one. And then it generally turns out kind of meh at best. I mean, the TV show, the TV series, or whatever you want to call it, was pretty good. The movie from Disney would have been better, but they never got to finish the movies because it was like a setup of a trilogy that never happened.
Yeah, that was a shame because there were many good parts to it. Wasn't perfect in any way.
Well, and you forgot what's his face who played Marvin too.
Hans Gruber.
Yeah, I can't think of his name now. All of a sudden, help me out.
It's Hans Gruber. That's his name.
That's
what forever be known as.
He shall be forever known as Hans Gruber.
Alan Rickman.
Alan Rickman. Yes. Yeah.
He sometimes went by that name, but his legal name was Hans.
His real name is Hans Gruber.
Yeah.
Well, according to Die Hard, it is, which is funny because I watched Die Hard 3 the other night. Does the name Hans Gruber mean anything to you? Yeah, that thing in LA. Anyway, SJ Shady 0169 says, "Hail gang, why do you think Disney charges an extra $30 for their theatrical intended movies, but HBO Max does not?" That's a very good question, SJ Shady, and it's probably a good segue into our next story.
Actually, our first real story.
Well, we talked about Loki. I'd say that's kind of...
Yeah, but that wasn't... Yeah, well, fine. Of our first planned story, then.
Yeah. Well, we knew we'd probably talk about what we didn't watch it, so... Yeah. Except for Script Doctor, who did his homework, see?
Yeah, so we'll have to get back to Loki in the very, very near future. We'll set up a separate, full-on spoiler stream for that, I think.
Oh, goody. Now I'm trying to find that story. Here we go. LA Times brought this out. Of course, I can't get to it because I'm not subscribed. Can you get it open, Andre?
Yeah, I can. I can get it up here.
I've used my limit. While you're doing that, I'll grab this super chat from House of Trades who says, "Hail Minute's Edge, my first impression of Loki was favorable. Well, good. I was entertained and left me curious of what's to come. Episode 2, I will be accepting some answers." I think do you mean
Expecting
some answers.
Yeah.
I think you went. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna go with.
I should imagine so.
And since we have him in the chat, and I got to say his name this way, we have Rod Thunderheart. Just because. There you go. You can't say his name like a normal person. It just doesn't work. Anyway, you got the story up there, Andre?
Yeah, I thought I did, but
Are you having the same problem I am?
Maybe.
Because I opened it like 2-3 times last night. I can't open it now because you can only open LA
No,
Times.
I think I got it.
Okay.
Here we got it. Here we go.
Great.
Yes, so basically the foundation for the next story comes to us from the LA Times. And they publish an article titled Theaters or HBO Max? Warner Brothers movie plans take shape as Discovery merger looms. And then, of course, we are treated to the official new joint logo and name for the new company that is comprised of basically the Warner Media, so the entirety of the movies, TV series, video games, everything like that, which is now which is in the process of being shifted to a new corporate entity co-owned by AT&T and Discovery. And the new name here is going to be Warner Bros. Discovery. And what you're seeing is the official logo. And I do not know how many millions upon millions they paid for it, but it was too much.
48.9 billion.
For real?
I don't know, whatever it was. Whatever it was,
wouldn't surprise me, but whatever they paid,
whatever Discovery paid to get into the merger, it was like 48.
No, Discovery they own 30%.
No, I know, but like because Warner. Never mind. Anyway, the bigger part of this story, though, is kind of it's an update of something that we've been following here from the start, and little did I know I was a little bit ahead of, and that was, their plans for next year. Now they're getting a little bit better idea now that they have some numbers and things to go by, and basically, like I said, 43 billion. That was close. That's what I was trying to. I knew it wasn't quite 48, but
yeah, I was talking about the logo specifically because
I know you were, but I was saying that logo costs Discovery $43 billion.
Yeah, well, actually, I think this is probably a really good deal for all involved.
It is, but...
Yeah. But anyway, let's get into the story itself, which, of course, you have some drivel here in the beginning, and then it begins. After 3 years of upheaval under AT&T, Warner is confronting another industry-changing shakeup. Just weeks ago, the studio learned it would be merged with Discovery, home of HGTV, Food Network, and Animal Planet. But as the $43 billion Discovery merger ambles toward regulatory approval next year, Warner Brothers' risky release strategy, internally dubbed Project Popcorn, appears to be working. So this then is the internal name for releasing everything, the entire 2000 or almost the entire 2021 theatrical slate to HBO Max is called Project Popcorn. And it worked well because HBO Max is right now a pretty heavy contender in the streaming works.
It's funny you say that, Andre, because as this article gets going, this is one of the reasons why I stopped us last night going through this. Because this is some of the biggest bunch of fugazi I've ever heard. Because they tell you the truth, then they try to wax it all over as you get going. As Script remembers last night, we were just like, what the fuck? This is some of the I haven't heard much more literature I screwed that up. I haven't heard so much fiction since the last time I talked to Literature Double about his story. So
speaking of fiction, we then of course have the Warner Brothers Pictures chairman Toby Emmerich, who says, "I'm both happy and relieved because it has ultimately played out almost exactly as we hoped it would." No, it was Karen Blackwood who said that. We've got filmmakers and talent who are now happy. Exhibitors that are happy. We got audiences that are happy, and our partners at HBO Max are thrilled. Yeah, I can kind of believe that. Despite skepticism, Warner Brothers leaders had long insisted that same-day releases were a pandemic special, a 2021 only solution to the problem of the beer bug shutting down cinemas. Although the future of Warner under Discovery remains unclear, the studio's strategy for next year and beyond is coming into focus. After this year, the Burbank studio will go with half and half approach to its schedule, executives said. Of the roughly 20 movies Warner makes annually in the coming years, 10 to 12 will be designated specifically for HBO Max. The other 10 to 12 will launch in theaters exclusively for at least 45 days before they're available for home viewing.
All right, so now what we have here is what their plan is now for next year. It's an updated version of what we had been talking about over the past few weeks. Now, they don't specifically say if the HBO Max movies will be day and date in theater, but I'm assuming that's going to be the case. Because at least that's kind of what I was hearing anyway. But anyway, what do you take from that, Andre, in script and lit?
Well, let's hear from literature, our esteemed guests. How do you take that?
That's what they always do. They always say, they always kind of hide everything behind this veneer of everything's great, everything's fantastic, and just kind of mull it over. And they always spin it. It's kind of the corporate thing to do. They always spin whatever happens into something more positive, or they're winning, or something like that. You saw that with Gamergate. They're saying, this everything's great, it's better than ever, and then the women are all like actually a majority of gamers. Yeah, nothing to see here. It's something like that, especially now with Comicsgate, or well, not Comicsgate specifically, but comic book sales and things. Or it's great, everything's wonderful. Comics are better than ever before. Look at the manga sales, and they do all that stuff. And they do the same thing with movies and TV shows. It's great, it's better than ever. It's massively popular. This massively popular that and they do that because they have to make sure that that they have to produce the story that they're winning, that they're making all the right decisions, that everyone is on their side. It's kind of what tyrants have done forever.
Yeah, like Mecca JC says here, Warner Brothers, everything is awesome.
Pretty much, yeah.
Don't look at the fire behind us. Script, I know you and I talked a little bit about this last night, but what's your take on this? What have you been hearing? Anything from inside, or?
Not as of yet, but I expect some things will be changing because HBO Max is going to be expanding their content development over the next year a lot more. But I guess what's interesting is that Tommy Emmerich is speaking out a little bit, and there was rumors that he was looking for employment elsewhere. So we don't know, is he going to be sticking around with this new format, or is he still going to, are they going to replace him by, I guess, when his contract ends later this year?
I have a feeling we're going to hear something soon because we've heard rumors about Sarnoff. We had the whole thing with where...
both Sarnoff and the head of DC Films, Walter Hamada,
and then Killar
are both
also
looking for other jobs. Well, Killar
very publicly was looking for another job, and then all of a sudden he's not going anywhere. And I think we'll get to that in this article here, but I did want to highlight this one statement here because I think we're going to get into this in this. Kellen Winslow says, sorry, theaters are dying. You can't put the genie back in the bottle after people got used to streaming. But as we get into this article, I think you're going to see that the true answer is they fucked up. And this is what we've been saying for a while, is the streaming services are not strong enough yet to hold up and make the amount of money that they need for these movies. Now, and I want to hear your part of this, Andre, but this is what I came up, my conclusion to last night is we're going to get more movies like Mortal Kombat when it comes to the straight to HBO Max or day and date stuff, because that was only $50 million. They made their money back on it, and it was a decent enough hit. If it was a non-pandemic area, they know they would have made a lot more. I think they're going to have a lot more of those lower level movies that are going to be day and date on HBO. But then your bigger $200 million like Godzilla versus Kong, on the other hand, which is kind of the reason why they're not doing the day and date thing anymore. Let's be real, because Legendary was so pissed at how much money they lost on Kong And frankly, that's kind of where we're sitting on this. All their big movies going forward, and I think this is why we're going to end up hearing eventually that Dune and all that kind of stuff is not going to be day and date. What do you think, Andre?
No, I think you're entirely right. I think that what's going to happen forward is that I agree with everything that's been stated in that the box office ain't going to come back to what it was. Too many people are now comfortable at home. They don't want to go back to theaters. Yeah, of course, that's not everyone. Plenty of people will want the movie-going experience, but not as many as before. So they're going to be much more selective. I think that the movies that are going to go to theaters, of like those 10, 12 movies that will get theatrical releases with 45-day windows before any kind of streaming, will be the Godzilla versus Kongs and the Dunes, the big fairs, the blockbusters. Everything that isn't that is going to go straight to streaming. And also, Mortal Kombat is a franchise that has been highlighted several times now with how incredibly pleased they were with that and how excited they are for that going forward. I wouldn't be surprised that if they continue kind of the strategy that they have been implementing a little bit already, where you have like a huge thing that goes into theaters and then it has spin-offs that goes to HBO Max.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, The Suicide Squad, the James Gunn movie. That has, it's like the theatrical version, but then you have the spin-off series, the one that's going to tank now because it has John Cena with, I forget the name of the character, the one with the toilet on top of his head, which is something that looked fun before John Cena became a hopeless sellout of the worst possible kind. So who knows how that's going to work out right now.
A Chinese communist guy.
Yeah, exactly, that one. The Chinese, what's the term?
Baizu?
No, well, yeah,
the
that,
other one.
Well, that too, but Toady.
Oh,
The CCP Toady is kind of like what he's coming across as, but yeah, no. So I think we'll be seeing a variation of that.
He's the peacemaker with China.
Yeah, exactly. Especially in terms of something like Mortal Kombat, where I wouldn't be surprised if you have like an event level main tournament movie.
Well, they've already been talking like a Sub-Zero prequel and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly, because then you have like Mortal Kombat Mythologies, Sub-Zeros, and Sub-Zero and Mortal Kombat Special Forces. You have all of those spin-off projects that go straight to HBO Max, and then you can keep the brand huge by then having the tournament on the big screen. Wouldn't surprise me if they do something like that.
Yeah, anybody else got anything to add? Go ahead.
Well, I will say that one thing. I have tried out HBO Max, and it's been a significantly different experience watching that than Netflix. Because with Netflix, with HBO Max, I can find like any movie. They have a big roster of movies on HBO Max. So I've seen like a bunch of movies on there that I liked and enjoyed, as opposed to Netflix, where every time I want to watch a movie, it's saying, "Oh, we don't have this on a streaming platform anymore. If you want to, you can rent the DVDs." Like, I don't want to rent the DVD. I could have sworn you just had that movie like 5 days ago, and now it's offline. That's been a majority of my experience with Netflix, wanting to watch a movie, going to Netflix to watch that movie, and then have them not have it on there anymore.
No, that's or not great, but that's a prime example of a lot of the stuff I hear. In fact, we have our stand and deliver watch party tonight, and the damn thing was on Netflix up until this week. So
exactly.
Oh my god, that's unbelievable. So last week it was on Netflix, and now it's gone.
Yeah. Because Wally's like, I just watched it on Netflix yesterday or whatever, and I checked it. I'm like, it's not on Netflix anymore. He's like, son of a bitch, it was.
It's like they know. It's like they know that, oh, they're going to need to watch this movie. You want to watch this movie now? We're taking it away.
Exactly. No, but you're right about HBO Max is they've got this great selection, but it's just the way it's set up is a pain in the ass to navigate. And there's a lot of places they still haven't got it updated or anything like that on certain apps and stuff like that, or the app hasn't been updated. I'm trying to say on certain like the Xboxes and certain things like that, the Fire Sticks and all that, the Rokus, and I don't know the names of all these things, guys. I use my Xbox, so You know what I'm saying? It's been a tough road for HBO Max to even get up and started, and that's another reason why they're doing this, is they're not making the money they were hoping to or needing to at this point. So I think that's one of the major moves for this, and we already knew that, but I don't know if you want to get back into the article there, Andre, because there's some more as you get going.
Let's get back into the article and see what more we can find. Let's see where,
because they really try to candy coat a lot of this shit.
Yeah. Then we're talking about the studio's 2022 theatrical film lineup. Features 5 DC movies, which are then listed. They're talking about the Conjuring franchise. They're talking about the Fantastic Beast films and Elvis from Baz Luhrmann. I had no idea that was coming.
Yeah, it's news to me.
Are they going to ruin Elvis now?
Oh yeah.
Elvis is like the singer Elvis, or is that another franchise?
I'm assuming that it may be.
It's Baz Luhrmann's Elvis.
My guess is it's going to be Elvis told in a. My guess is if it's Baz Luhrmann, it's going to be Elvis told like Rocket Man. How much you want that?
I can't wait for the secret history of Elvis, where he was always trans and he was always an icon for bi positivity.
That's kind of why
they want to do that and use the name of Elvis. There's a figure skater named Elvis Stoico. They could pull that off with, but like, why would they do it with the king of music, right?
It's awesome. I can't wait for woke Elvis, like a woke Elvis documentary.
Yeah, let's not get into that. But continuing with the article. Additionally, Warner Bros. Has mid-budget DC movies on the way for streaming. Batgirl and Blue Beetle.
These are the ones that I think are going to be see, they already said those are the ones that are going straight to streaming. So we already know a couple.
Fantastic. Batgirl TV show. That's going to be great. It's going to be like 15 episodes of Batgirl walking around in a costume.
These are movies.
No, that's a movie.
Oh, good. Movie. Oh, it's a movie. So a movie, like 2.5 hours of Batgirl walking around in costume, taking selfies and eating hot dogs or something, and getting misgendered at fertility clinics. It's going to be great. It's going to be a wonderful movie. I can't wait for this to come out. It's going to be so much nonsense.
If it's the current adaptation of it, I guess you'd be right. Yeah.
Well, and I guess Blue Beetle was trending last night because people are worried now about it. And I don't know if Paulie's awake or not. Let me send him the link.
I don't know much about Blue Beetle, but I assume they're going to make him agender or something like that.
No, they were very proud to announce that he was going to be, and this is their word, I would never say this, but they're going to make him the first Latinx superhero.
Because that's what happens.
Really emphasized.
I know that Blue Beetle is like one of the maybe the only Hispanic superhero that they have in their roster. So, and what they do with minorities, especially Hispanic minorities for some reason, they like to make them gay. Like to make them like a agender or something like that. I don't know what it is, but you see this a lot where they're with the woke quote unquote depiction of black men, where they kind of have to feminize them a lot for some reason, or they make them gay or something like that, or second banana to the white woman.
Harmless, yeah.
Exactly. They could kind of take away any edge they have with them. Like
no masculinity.
They siphon all the masculinity out of black men. I have no idea why they do that. They allow I would say they allow white men to do that, but they really don't allow any men to have masculinity.
Kamran Pasha actually explained that when we had him on. He's gone into it a few times. So if you go back to our earlier videos with Kamran Pasha, he'll explain it. But the gist of it is basically that the people doing the jobs and are the hiring decisions and those that call for diversity and all of this, these are genuinely disingenuous people, according to Kamran Pasha, for the most part. So they will hire various people of different ethnicities and everything like that, but only people that they aren't intimidated by. People that won't talk back to them. People that will be nice and subservient and will go away when they're no longer called for. That's
good allies.
The gist of what? Yeah, exactly.
They don't want friends. I don't think they even acknowledge the idea of friendship actually, but they just want good allies. That's because if you've seen any of their writing, if two guys enter a room and they're friendly with each other, they're gay. There's no ifs, ands, and buts about it. Men can no longer be friends. Like men can't be friends in SJW media. They have to either be enemies or gay. There's only two options.
Straight
That's
men don't stand
basically-
around naked,
Nope.
touching each other and kissing
No,
and
exactly,
hugging.
Tom. That's only you and Polly. No, you're right. That's the same type of argument they have between like how men and women can't just be friends. There's always got to be some sort of sexual or romantic undertone. And the other part too, the stuff that I've experienced that I absolutely hate is they take these male characters and they emasculate them, but they use it under the guise of, oh, well, they're just sensitive. It's like, well, no, a sensitive male is not necessarily an effeminate male. I mean, we do have stories, not just currently, but like, in our past and in Greek mythology and even further back, where men care about their families and their wives and will do anything to protect and help them and provide for them and so forth. And that's a form of sensitivity as well that doesn't seem to resonate with other writers in the industry.
Well, and I can speak, I think, for some of the women in the chat. Well, they'll flat out say, like, no, they don't find that kind of a man the least bit attractive. They want a guy that's a manly man. That's why they go see these, and the fact that they're sitting there like, oh, but we're trying to cater to the female audience. But which female audience are you talking about? Because
not the general one.
Yeah, the general female audience seems pretty well served at this point. They love them some Henry Cavill and Sons of Aquaman and stuff
Superman.
Like that.
I don't know. To me, it seems like a lot of women like Superman. Superman, the take charge guy who beats up bad guys and takes care of people, defends the weak, that sort of thing. I can tell you right now that there's also the whole thing about in the Hispanic community, especially you want to do the Latinx sort of thing with Blue Beetle. Machismo is very highly respected and highly regarded in the Hispanic community. So if you're going to make like this effeminate, subservient Hispanic character in your next movie or your Blue Beetle movie or whatever it is, you're going to be driving away the Hispanic audience, because Hispanic audience by large in the community, they respect manliness and machismo.
Yeah. They would basically call it a poser to a degree. But here's the other part too. So, I mean, this one I know works all the time, but if you really want to show a masculine man to be admired by women and sensitive, have him playing with his children, just like a sports or fooling around like horseplay or hide and seek and that type of stuff. Like women are very attracted to attentive fathers that can still maintain their masculinity. That works very well.
Yeah, I would say in general, this is just general observation, women respect manliness.
Yeah, why do you think the Mandalorian got a lot of female attention? He's a strong, masculine guy who takes care of a baby.
Yeah, we bitched about him not having a character, but at the same time, it was because they were trying to do the whole Clint Eastwood thing, and that may not be what they were working towards, but yeah, I think that may have made him a bit more attractive to people, because the more he talked and took his helmet off, I don't think that helped. But no, but it's funny that Red Syrup brings this up, because this is almost kind of tangentially attached to something we've been on top of too. Speaking of Cameron and other things, the whole China thing with Hollywood is the funny thing about it is I think the deal would have worked better for everybody had Hollywood not tried to do this bullshit right now. Like, because nobody would have noticed the deal with China had they just continued to do business as usual. Because as we've always pointed out here, that was their biggest problem over there in China. They didn't want this shit. They didn't want to watch this crap. They called it ugly people most of the time.
Yeah, it did. I remember the Chinese complaining about this stuff. We don't want to watch this. What is this crap?
Exactly. They want to watch movies with big movie stars, big action, and I hate beating a dead horse or sounding like a broken record, but as we keep saying here, this is why guys like Schwarzenegger and Stallone and Angelina Jolie and those type of actors were always so big in their era, because they could play anywhere. It didn't matter. All the people said, "Oh, new Angelina Jolie movie, I'm going," no matter where they were from. Because that was a movie star. I want to go see a big American movie. So what do? We try to cater to the fucking Chinese audience. And they're like, I can go see this every other fucking day of the week. I don't want to see this now. I'm here to see Transformers. I want to see Transformers. I don't want to see my home. So again, I think it was kind of just, it didn't work out for either on that end, because it could have if they just did business as usual. I don't know if you agree or disagree, Andre, lit or script, but it's just kind of funny how they went into this direction.
Yeah, that's certainly the Chinese thing, but I think we should hear from some women. And Kit Kat
Absolutely
says, as a woman, I want to see men who are manly, clever, strong, and with an instinct to protect rather than to submit and apologize.
Yeah, and I've been
Exactly.
seeing similar things from the other ladies in the chat as well. So
that's the kind of man other men respect as well.
yeah, and aspire to be.
On the other side of the Chinese thing, where the Chinese people would want to watch American movie to see American movies, this is also the same appeal I get for watching martial arts movies. It's really interesting to see this other place in the world, see China and everything. That's part of the appeal. You get to see a different culture. So I'm pretty sure that some of the regular Chinese person going to see an American movie might have the same appeal to them. Like, I'll get to see someplace else in the world, see how they make movies, see how they act over there.
Should also keep in mind that the Chinese are now having courses to teach their young boys to become real men, because they're worried about negative cultural influences such as American movies.
They're worried about that the American movies will infect their young boys with soy. That's probably a legitimate concern.
Yeah, no, really. Like we've covered this before in earlier videos with article reference, been in New York Times and everything. And also on that note, Spider Unlimited says, "I'll stop acting like a summer scarf wearing beta soy boy."
Yeah. Well, China's also worried about population decline as well. If you're not going to have masculine men that can woo a woman, you're probably not going to have another generation to fortify your own country.
I think we need that. What if we had like a private company start up a class, like a series of universities that all they did was teach men how to be men. Teach boys how to be
masculine.
Yeah, teach how to be masculine instead of a soy boy. That'd be kind of cool. I think there'd be a lot of money with that.
I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it even could be necessary. And we got a couple of super chats where some more of our the female members of our community weigh in. Says, "I agree with Kit Kat," and adds, "I want to see a man who is sexy or has sex appeal too." So yeah, another Henry Cavill. And Mags says, "There is nothing sexier than a man being a man. Protective, strong, having a drive to be better, and that whole thing that Script said about kids." Yep.
And we got some other super chats we'll definitely get back to here in a bit in the course of due time. But yeah, we just wanted to bring those up real quick since they were relevant to the conversation at that point. But yeah, we've been beating that drum for a while, as Andre brought up when he noticed that more women went to see Rambo than went to see Charlie's Angels last year. Or the year before now, I should say.
Yeah,
we lost a year. I forgot.
Yeah, that's everyone lost that 1 year, so we might as well call it last year.
Might as well the blur year.
Yeah. Anyway, but back to the story in question. Yeah. We got sidetracked there.
Yeah, we did, because now is where we're going to get into the HBO Max business. And here,
one final sidetrack though, because we mentioned Latinx, and Paulus Plain says, for 100 Norwegian krona, 1000 takk. Pew Research Center. About 1 in 4 U.S. Hispanics have heard of Latinx, but just 3% use it.
Yeah, it's very rare that people actually use the term.
And 100% of our Midnight's Edge Espanol staff find that term to be, well, they find it to range from annoying to downright offensive.
I'm on that scale. It's actually offensive. Is it the language is actually a gendered language, so you can't do that. I would consider it offensive to the culture.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly how it is seen. Offensive to the culture, to the language, everything. That's exactly right. But moving on with the story. The tilt towards streaming represents a significant departure from pre-pandemic norms. HBO Max, which had a rocky start when it debuted in May of 2020, needs content to convince subscribers to pay $15 a month as it competes head-on with Netflix, Disney+, Amazon Prime Video, and others. Netflix is releasing at least one movie a week. Amazon is buying MGM Studios for $8.5 billion, largely for its film library. Universal recently moved its Boss Baby sequel to parent company Comcast streaming service Peacock. Disney is releasing Pixar's Luca directly to Disney Plus and selling Marvel's Black Widow on the app for $30. Oh, so that's decided now. So Black Widow won't be getting a theatrical
Yeah, we
release.
knew that, I think.
Exclusive one. Yeah, and we've been predicting that for a year now. But yeah, moving on. When streamers were starting, the common wisdom was series drive subscription, movies reduce churn, Emmerich said. Movies weren't really the drivers of getting people to sign on, and I think now the perception with film on these streaming services is that they're punching above their weight in signups.
That whole thing right there. That thing they just said. Script. Are you there?
Let's read it. Let's read this one more time.
I need you to reinterpret that whole thing.
Yeah. I have it one more time.
Oh, here's my interpretation. We fucked up. Okay, we go ahead, script, and give us the better version.
He says it quite, honestly, they weren't really the drivers of getting people to sign on. I mean, that was the one thing I remember with.
Let's hear one more time exactly what it was he said. So everyone.
Okay, sure.
When streamers were starting, the common wisdom was series drive subscription, movies reduce churn. Movies weren't really the drivers of getting people to sign on back then. And then Emmerich says, I think now the perception with film on these streaming services is that they're punching above their weight in signups.
You hear what he's trying to say there?
Well,
they're based. Oh, go ahead, Literature Devil.
Just good to say that. Yeah, that's basically what they're doing. Punching above their weight in signups. They're just a little kid or a little scrawny boxer trying to go against like Mike Tyson or something. Like they kind of overestimated themselves, it seems.
Yeah, I mean, I remember like in the earlier days of Netflix, they were considered a sizable competitor to like video rental stores and whatnot. But I remember the biggest explosion I can recall is when Orange is the New Black debuted. That really changed the game even further. I think like Blockbuster Video just finally, collapsed by that point, and Netflix started investing more in bigger series and shows, and that thing was the talk of the town for like 2 years. And that's ended up being like the foundation for the streaming service model is like, series, because people want to binge. They want longer stories. Television shows started getting licensed out to Netflix, and people be watching that because, number one, they could find any episode they wanted to watch, especially ones that they may have missed that were originally aired on network and not often in syndication. And so that was a big draw that caused Netflix to really blow up. What would that be, around like 2012, 2013, memory serves?
Yeah, something like that. I remember.
Okay. Here's what I'm getting from this. What I'm getting from this is we got in trouble for putting these big movies day and date. That's what I'm seeing here. Punching above their weight in signups. That
maybe
basically
not so much in trouble, but just finally seeing the numbers.
It's basically Emmerich's way of saying, because I'm pretty sure it wasn't his choice. It was Killar's choice to do this. This is his way of throwing some shade at Killar by saying, oh, you shouldn't be using our big movies as loss leaders, by the way. Because the only reason you would say this is if that's the reason you would say this, or you're getting so much heat from everybody else, which why would they give a fuck about what Netflix, Amazon, any of these other streamers say? Because who else gives a shit if they're punching above their weight with signups? Because you know what that's basically they're saying? They were using their movies to push their subscribers, which they did from a measly 10, 15 million when they started out to now they're up there with Netflix. So yeah, I think that's what he's saying is he's throwing some fucking shade at Killar, saying, yeah, we're happy that HBO Max has gotten where it's at, but we've sacrificed how much to get here. And we're not going to do that anymore. I think that's what he's trying to say here. I don't know what you get from it, Andre, but that's what I'm gathering here. Because why else would you say we're punching above our weight in signups? Who gives a fuck if you're killing the competition?
Well, I think that what he's trying to say is that there something has happened over the last year.
Yeah, Legendary lost their shit.
Yeah, we know that they lost their shit, but that movies now drive subscribers more so than series.
Which isn't what HBO Max wanted to do. In what he's saying here, and that's what I'm getting at, is he's saying we need more TV shows and direct to streaming stuff. We're not going to sacrifice our movies anymore. Punching above our weight in signups. Why else would you say something like that unless you're getting internal pressure? You wouldn't know, like I just said, if Netflix bitches about it, well, big deal. Sorry, Netflix, we're kicking your ass. You know, who else is going to say something like that? That is direct shade being thrown at Kalar for doing the day and date thing with his movies. That's what that is. I guarantee. I could be wrong, but that's the way I interpret it.
Well, possibly. But the other thing to also remember is that a subscription status, especially one as high as HBO Max has right now, is constant revenue. So if you're able to drive up the numbers, that's increasing your revenue. But again, it's going to take time for that revenue to actually factor in to pay off debts for the production. So they're probably looking at the numbers and thinking we should probably continue the theatrical aspect to offset the costs of what the streaming service will be. And that might also pertain to the punching above the weight class. It's like we shouldn't be, there might be some truth to that. They shouldn't be solely relying on the streaming service to pay for their theatrical big budget tentpole films.
Which is exactly the opposite of what they were saying a year ago, even if you go with that direction.
Yeah, but again, this is just one quote, so let's see the rest of the meaning. Because basically, the statement is that before, TV series were what drove new subscriptions, while movies prevented those subscribers from leaving, or at least leaving at a lower rate. Whereas now, movies are the drivers more so than TV series. And then the article continues. Indeed, movies have been crucial to the growth of HBO Max. The beer bug slowed production, and Warner had a lineup of movies with a combined budget of $1.5 billion sitting on the shelf. Warner Media has not said how many subscribers have viewed the films online. HBO and HBO Max now have 44.2 million subscribers combined, up from 38 million in September 2020.
Well, now we're seeing
6 million more.
Yeah, that number seems low. That's not.
That seems incredibly low to me.
From the last number we got, so that means they dumped some subscribers too. That's why they're doing this. They've had some churn.
Or they're only focusing primarily on HBO Max and not any of the other HBO subscriptions that have access to it.
Well, that's the thing, is we're seeing number mix here, just like we did with fucking Showtime and CBS All Access.
That's the problem. We have like these mix because HBO and HBO Max now have 44.2 combined. But what's the division and the overlap between the two, and what of everyone else who can access it through something else? We don't know. They don't say. But by the looks of it, in 6 months, or actually more than 6 months, in 3/4 of a year, it's been a growth of just 6 million, with at the cost of their entire theatrical lineup. That's not great numbers.
Right. And that's where I think we're getting back to the whole thing where Emmerich's saying you're not going to sacrifice my fucking big ass movies anymore for your fucking streaming service.
Moving on, Andy Forssell, head of HBO Max, said the new movies have helped the service acquire subscribers, reduce churn, and drive viewers to other content on HBO Max, like The Nevers. Of the people who signed up to watch Wonder Woman 84 in December and didn't cancel, about 2/3 watched the Denzel Washington movie, The Little Things.
So we're left to
in January. Okay, now that was
to guess numbers. We have no idea.
Exactly. The people that signed up for that and didn't cancel. just that they mention it implies that it must be quite a significant number.
Yeah, because I don't remember what the number was, but we got a rough idea of how many signed up at the time. But yeah, we have no idea what the churn was either.
Then it says, these films have been very helpful in acquisition and more helpful in retention than we ever could have seen or hoped, Forsell said.
Yeah,
the films have also injected much needed life into the box office. Though Wonder Woman 84 posted modest results domestically in December, Godzilla vs. Kong grossed $99 million in the US and Canada, while family film Tom and Jerry collected $45.9 million, and the R-rated Mortal Kombat did $42 million. Last weekend's The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It, the latest in the popular spooky franchise, opened with a solid $24 million.
Now, there's a reason why all 4 of those titles are mentioned right there. Because, and I think The Devil Made Me Do It was the reason why they made this final decision to not do the way they're doing things, because that movie did so well. And so did Godzilla vs. Kong, and Tom and Jerry did much better than they anticipated, I think. And of course, we already know how much money they probably lost with Godzilla vs. Kong. So I think there's a reason why those 4 movies specifically are named in this article. I don't know if you guys think there's anything to that, but
no, these movies were all pretty successful relative to what shambles the U.S. box office is in right now. Well, actually, of the entire Western world, relative to that. They did well, and people can stop saying that the Chinese is the second biggest theatrical market in the world. It's the biggest now.
Yeah, and it also strokes your ego a little bit, Andre, because you're always bringing up how the Conjuring series is one of the more overlooked franchises.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I've been saying this ever since we coined the term Frankenstein abomination, because when everyone else failed to create a cinematic universe to rival Marvel's, The Conjuring did it right underneath everyone's noses.
Yep, and $24 million is nothing to sneeze at for a horror film for an opening weekend. Even
I don't know how
normal times.
I don't know how much money they spend on the Conjuring movies, but I very much doubt that it has a total negative cost of $24 million. I mean, the marketing budget is probably higher than the production budget. That certainly was the case early on in the franchise. Now, who the heck knows? But
I don't think it's that bad. But yeah, a script, unless you know better, I'm assuming their budgets are pretty minimal on those.
I think the budgets are pretty solid for The Conjuring. They have a solid formula for production. So I would be very surprised if they were if they would need like 75 to 100 million in order to justify a break-even standard for their films.
I don't even think they cost that much.
Yeah.
And the Annabelle movies and stuff like that have done so well.
Oh, incredibly well. They've been so, all of those horror movies of that brand of horror, they cost so little to make, and they earn so much money. It's unbelievable, all in all. But this article as a whole, literature. What are your thoughts on this? Is any kind of shade being cast here, or is this just a matter of signaling that the movies have done incredibly well for HBO Max, but now it's back to theaters?
I don't know. I think if I were the creator of a bunch of movies, and then they told me, "Hey, your movie's not going to go into theaters. You're going to go into this little streaming service, and we're going to see how it does," and it didn't get nearly the attention they want, because I'm assuming because the way it used to be, the movie comes out, you're the director, you're the creator of this movie, it comes out, they make millions of dollars. You can tout like, my movie made millions of dollars. I got all kinds of awards, things like that. Now, what is he left with? A bunch of these movies brought him into the HBO Max. Can't really brag about that anymore. Can't really all this work that he's done. Can't really do that anymore. I mean, you have these like you said, they sacrificed them to the streaming service, and now they don't have the traditional numbers that we're traditionally familiar with anymore.
Well, they lost Nolan and a few others and stuff like that in this whole thing as well.
The new rating system for measuring success has been altered, and what I'm going to predict that in a few years, what movies are going to be like, they're going to still be in theaters, but they're primarily going to be in theaters to promote the streaming service, just like they were years ago to promote the DVD and Blu-ray, because of the overhead and the extra markup you can get from physical media at that time. With physical media kind of dwindling, the next alternative will be the streaming service. So you'll go into a film, and then probably at the end credits you might have a big logo that says "See this on HBO Max by this date." Just to push those numbers if you really like the movie, so to speak.
It's kind of scary because now that means they're pushing everyone to invest more in media you don't actually own. You just rent, and then as opposed to buying the DVD and Blu-ray.
No, and that's what I've pointed out to people before when they're like, well, how do these streaming services make money? It's like, well, first of all, not a lot of people buy physical media anymore, believe it or not. Sure, a lot of our audience probably does because we're movie fans, but the general audience doesn't buy a lot of movies, and when they do, it's very rarely. So what if somebody buys a DVD or Blu-ray every 3 months? If you're lucky, maybe. In this case, when you're on a streaming service, you're paying as much as you would for a movie every month. They're guaranteeing basically a DVD sale to you. And whatever their new big movie is that month, it's basically like them saying, well, you bought Wonder Woman 84 this month, even though you technically don't own it now. And same thing with Godzilla versus Kong or whatever, and then they take it away, and that's what that's what the future of this is. Unfortunately, we've been saying that for a while, but Alexander Wilson wants to point out here for us. He went and looked up the numbers. Thank you for that. It says AT&T's last earnings list HBO and HBO Max combined is 44.2 million subscribers domestically and 63.9 million globally. So that's probably the number we were getting before, Andre, was the global number. That's why.
Mm-hmm. And to further on to your point, Tom, the other reason that people don't buy physical media as much is limited space. A lot of the current generation aren't homeowners as greatly as the one before, so they're in confined spaces, so they don't have the room to store all that physical media.
Yeah.
It's tricky. So there's
I know that's a problem.
There's the convenience of the streaming service where it's like, well, you have access to all of these films, so you don't have to worry about occupying a whole room with a media library of physical media. But at the same time, those streaming services can remove that media at their own discretion. So then, like what Literature Delva was dealing with on Netflix, is like a movie just vanished that he wanted to see, and he got pissed off. He had every right to get pissed off.
And then not only that, they can say, well, you know what, this actor is problematic now, so we're going to change his face in this movie.
Oh,
there's delete them all together.
There's a big rabbit hole to get down into when you get into that shit.
Let's go ahead and digitize Trump out of Home Alone.
Yep, that's just a
replace him with Biden.
Yeah.
Are they going to install a scene of him smelling?
Well, the problem is the Biden cut. The problem is with the Biden cut is it's 45 minutes longer because for 40 minutes Biden's just trying to figure out where the fuck Kevin wants to go. But anyway,
release the Biden cut.
Yellow Flash 2, our good buddy, says, I buy physical media all the time, trying to get all my favorite 4K movies now because this will be the last physical media format. You're probably right, Yellow Flash. I don't know if I'd say the last ever, but for our generation, or at least for probably quite a while, I mean, there might be something in the future that kind of, there's always something, they're going to try and find some way of reinvigorating some revenue. Because that's the other thing I've pointed out is, as Script and I were just talking about, is once you get into these streaming services, they basically killed their secondary market. And that was one thing I brought up early on in this whole shutdown was, it's the studios are going to be thinking it's great right away that they're getting an influx of money from, selling their movies to the streaming services or dumping them on their streaming services and getting all these new subscribers. But they're cutting out their entire secondary market, which is the rental and sale market. And that's a big chunk of change. And they're going to notice. And I think that's another part of this as well. But anyway, Andre, back on task with the article. But yeah.
Yes, indeed. Back to the article. So far this year, Warner movies have accounted for more than 35% of the domestic box office, according to ComScore, helping struggling theater chains bring in patrons at a time where there were few big movies to play. The studio agreed to take a smaller cut of the box office it splits with theater chains, who were concerned that streaming movies would cannibalize ticket sales. Warner executives said there are no plans to return to exclusive theatrical windows before 2022, despite the success of Paramount's A Quiet Place Part 2, which is not available for streaming and set a pandemic box office record. To their credit, they released a lot of movies. They supported the heck out of them with their marketing, they were flexible with their licensing terms, and they committed to a 2022 slate with an exclusive window, said Mark Zoradi, chief executive of Plano, Texas-based theater chain Cinemark. For all those reasons, the relationship was repaired. So yeah, that's what they mean then with theater owners happy. Still, the announcement of same-day release plan damaged talent relations. Top filmmakers Christopher Nolan and Denis Villeneuve, helming the upcoming legendary and Warner Bros. Release Dune, blasted the strategy, and the studio had to scramble to do damage control. Now that I agree, that's a slight on Killar.
Well, I think this whole thing is a slight on the whole idea of the day. Like, I know you may not be seeing it, but I've seen it. That's what I could see from the start from this whole thing. This is them mopping up their mess. I was waiting for this.
Yeah. And here we get into it. Resentment lingers among some top agents, though they largely blame AT&T. Warner Media CEO Jason Killar, who will remain at least until the merger closes, acknowledged in a recent Wall Street Journal profile that creative partners could have been given more of a heads up. There's the Toby that I know that is super artist-friendly and built a career on relationships. And then there's the Toby that had to work for people that made him deliver just the opposite of artist-friendly news, said Brian Lord of Creative Artists Agency. When asked if he thinks the company has made progress repairing those relationships, Lord was blunt. No, I don't. Lord added that he expects things to improve under Discovery.
This is the paragraph that I was trying to. Yes, this is what I wanted to get to, because right there is Toby trying to save his ass through help of this fucking article and throwing a shit ton of shade at Killar.
Yeah, I agree completely. This article here, and what I find very interesting is that this is in the LA Times and not one of
Toby's got friends.
Trades. He's got friends, but he apparently doesn't have friends in Variety or the Hollywood Reporter. He had to go elsewhere. He had to go to the LA Times because apparently the trades didn't want to do this story, which tells me that he has friends, but he doesn't have the power that he used to have. He's on his way out the door.
No Deadline, no Hollywood Reporter, no Variety.
Exactly. This article would have meant more if it had been in one of those. Now, Tom, I agree with you. This is casting shade at Killar, and it's explicitly about saving Emmerich's ass. But neither the Hollywood Reporter, Variety, or even Deadline Hollywood would take it.
And
that's my reading of the situation.
And as Vidge points out here too, Vigilante Williams. Sorry, we're kind of like, that's my nickname. Hamada went to the LA Times for a puff piece as well. Yes, he did. And this is why I brought this.
So basically, they have connections there.
Yes, and you're hitting exactly all the notes I was hoping you would hit, Andre. Yes, this is what I've been saying the whole time. This is a big old hit piece on Jason Killar via Toby Emmerich trying to save his ass and explaining why I was right for the last year, as in Toby Emmerich, and you were wrong, Mr. Killar. And that's what it is. It's trying to make him look good.
Yeah. And then the big question, though, is will anyone in the industry care? Literature Devil, what do you think about our reading of the article? Do you agree with that or disagree? And do you think it'll help? Because, again, this wasn't in an industry trade, so it was obviously rejected from there.
Right. I just find the whole thing just hilarious. It's just funny. They just keep hitting themselves in the face over and over and over and over again and expecting different results. But it's just funny to see where it goes. It kind of just we see the big companies always trying to screw over their employees, trying to screw over everything, everyone they employ for to try to get money or try to get to push a certain narrative or something like that. And they don't care who they stomp on. They don't care who they anger or even if they demonize fans, whatever it is, whatever it takes. they're trying to do something, and they're always willing to step on anyone to do it. So it's always funny when these big evil corporations do these horrible things to the people that they hire and people they who are supposed to give them money and things, and then it just backfires in their face. But we'll see what happens. I just find the whole thing it's very entertaining to see them dance around like this.
Yeah. Script Doctor, your take on this now. Having heard our reading, having heard what Literature Devil has to say, what's your informed analysis as someone that's actually within the industry?
It's par for the course, actually. I mean, what better way to, call out someone that you may not agree with or that's coming after your job than by proxy through a media outlet? I mean, that's basically what this is. There might be situations where they can't just say it to their face, or they can't say it within a conference meeting or a boardroom meeting, because it will make them look bad. But if you can spin an article so that you can get some jabs in subtly, and let the audience, in this case, like whoever's reading this article, make their own decision and let that be the talk of the town, that will then inform the powers that be which direction to go. But I think this is really a losing fight. Both people, both Emmerich and Killar, are not going to be long at Warner Brothers, in my opinion. I'm pretty sure one's going to go first, then the other one's going to go right after. Because this is just
already know Killar's gone as soon as the Discovery things.
Pretty much,
yeah. Right here.
Yeah,
and Emmerich's just trying to hang on.
Yeah. But that's absolutely to be expected, though, isn't it? Because he's the former CEO of Warner Media, or the current CEO. But then the whole thing shifts, and then there's a new CEO. So obviously he will be out the door when that happens.
But on top of that, this is also a little bit of kind of like an addendum to a resume, so to speak. Emmerich is saying, like, look, I'm kind of right here. So when I am no longer at Warner Brothers, whoever hires me is going to have a couple of steps ahead of the game because I've already done this and my intuition was correct. That's what he's trying to imply with this through the help of the journalists reporting on him.
He's implying one more thing as well. He's implying that, look, I have all of these relationships, and this whole thing with Nolan leaving and stuff, that wasn't my fault. That was Killar. I'm still on good terms with them. So as the moment that you pick me up somewhere else, maybe I can give you Nolan and Villeneuve. That seems to be an implied reading here. This seems like a job advertisement, or like
a resume update.
I put a resume update, exactly as you said.
No, and you're picking up exactly what I was putting down, Andre. And we know Toby, he's been around the industry for quite some time, at least almost 20 plus years now.
But not long enough, evidently, that he's able to get this directly in Variety, which have been far more impactful.
Well, it's because he's the old regime. He's a white man. Yeah. He's pushing, I think he's in his 60s by now, or close to it, or getting there, if not in his 50s for sure. So yeah, he's not a spring chicken. He knows he's not long for this industry, I guarantee it, because he's the wrong color and he's the wrong sex, and he's definitely got the wrong sexual preference probably. But we said this from the start, that this was the guy that he's going to be fighting for his job in the next few weeks.
Yeah, and that's what we're seeing right here. So yeah, good observation.
And I know Literature Devil, this isn't exactly all the stuff you talk about over in your end. We'll get to some other stuff you do normally, but yeah, like I'm curious what you're hearing from all this.
It's just more corporate stuff. It just seems like something that's kind of faded in the background for years and years now. It's more inner corporate stuff, more racism being introduced as normal and accepted and celebrated. It's just normal stuff I see in these industries, and they're all Hollywood people, so I don't really care. Just one eats the other. Fantastic.
And I love that
not
John
caring is the exact appropriate mentality you need to have for Hollywood people. Like,
Script's right about that. That's why I just find it hilarious. But John Penn is right here. Midnight's Edge, it's not in Variety because they are not willing to stab the current head of a studio in the front. True to a point, but I think they would be, and this is why I brought this up, they would be more than willing, like Variety, all these other Hollywood reporters, they would love to throw Emmerich under the bus easily because he's, like I just said, all the reasons I just said.
Yeah, exactly. But here's like the thing: this is Emmerich telling them or asking to throw someone else under the bus.
Yeah.
And I agree with John Penn in that they're not willing to do that.
No, not really. And it could be very well that Killar might be a bigger fish. Yeah, sure, Emmerich's been the head of Warner Brothers for years and been in the industry, but Jason Killar comes in from AT&T, which is a much bigger entity.
And also Jason Killar, he has had some fine instincts. I mean, many of the projects that he has greenlit have done exceedingly well, like that Friends reunion special. I would not be surprised if he stays in the industry, just in a different role.
No, the only thing I disagreed with him on was the whole day and date thing, as far as like he should have been a bit more selective with it. Like he really should have played the game a little bit better. And that was keep people like Nolan happy and, you know, make a bit better decision maybe with Godzilla versus Kong. I mean, but yeah, definitely Mortal Kombat, I think, paid off the way they wanted it to. I'm sure Tom and Jerry did much better in the situation than it probably would in any other. Because I don't know about you, Script, but I don't see a Tom and Jerry movie doing that good in any other situation where people aren't locked down and forced to find something to watch. But that's just me.
Yeah, you may be right there. I'm not sure. I haven't been around kids or my godchildren when they were the age that they would have liked Tom and Jerry in quite some time, so I don't know if that's still a thing.
Well, I don't even think my comparison is Scoob, and I know Scooby-Doo is a pretty big franchise still, and it kept up with that. I think it actually did better than Scoob, but Scoob also came out at the very beginning of the pandemic, so
yeah, right. Well, I think that we have covered this story quite well.
Yeah, it goes on quite a bit longer. And again, this is something we could probably go on for hours on, probably.
Yeah, but I think we've made the main point, though. Is there something else you want to hit with it?
Not offhand. I didn't even get through the whole thing on After Dark, but
no, actually, I see right here. No, there's no more beats to hit.
Nothing
the
real
main beats
major.
We have already. Yeah. We have the main beats right there. There's a little more to it. This is Jason Killar telling the rest of the studio heads, hire me, and you'll get Nolan and stuff. So
well, and I think the other thing is just basically, I think it's pointing out that I think the Batman and Fantastic Beasts are definitely going to the theaters. It kind of says here.
Yeah, we knew this already.
Yeah.
Because, again, this is something that we have heard, that they have huge expectations on the Batman movie, as in Dark Knight level expectations from it. That's what they're hoping in terms of the box office. So it'll be funny to see how that all works out.
Yeah. But we got some amazing superhero news to talk about here. It's just bloody amazing.
Oh yes, it's very is. Before we do that, though, we have a couple of super chats, and let's get into the one that set this whole discussion off. Why do you think Disney charges an extra $30 for their theatrical intended movies, but HBO Max does not? Literature. What's your take on that?
I have no idea. I think because I wanted to watch Cruella de Vil, this because I wanted to cover it. And they mentioned that it costs $30 extra to watch it with a subscription, and until it exits theaters. So I think it's like to incentivize maybe more revenue, maybe because they're not making what they thought they were going to make or what they wanted to make, and maybe it's also to discourage you from getting that one from ordering it and then going to the movie theater instead. I could just take the $30 and go to the movie theater and have a larger experience, the movie theater experience, or I can wait until it exits the theaters, and then I think it says August you'll be able to watch it normally without paying $30. So it seems to me that they need more money for this thing. Like they sink a bunch of money into it, and they're not confident that they can make it back because they've, reasonably enough, they have seen this happen a few times before, especially even with Star Wars. They've seen this happen where they're not making the money they want to make back. Because they're business. They don't want to make their money back. They don't want to make like a few dollars. They want to make a big profit off of these things. So I think it's a more incentive. But what I saw from it, it just seems like it kind of screams to me that they don't have the confidence that's going to make the money they want it to make. And probably because the streaming service isn't as, it might be popular, but it probably isn't generating as the amount of money they wanted to generate.
Yeah, no, I think those are some very cogent observations. Script, what's your take on that?
Yeah, I tend to agree with Literature Devil. The one thing that's kind of motivating studios, especially Disney in particular, is greed. And if they can see an opportunity where if they can make any amount of money off of this film that's also in theaters, they're going to do it. I mean, ideally, what they're looking at here, whether they realize it or not, is that a family of 4 is going to cost more at the movie theater than at home. So they're trying to just expand their market reach as easily as possible. So if you're already a Disney Plus subscriber, you can rent the movie for $30. If you have like, you know, a spouse and 3 kids, that's going to be a cheaper experience than taking all of them to the movie theater. Plus, you know, there's gas, there's parking, there's concessions, all that stuff is avoided. So there's that convenience angle that they're most likely going to be marketing on. But at the same time, the people that maybe don't have that Disney Plus stuff, they're going to go and spend a little bit more at the theaters, and then Disney's still going to get a cut. And I bet when the numbers are all said and done, it's probably going to be close to that $30 per basic family of like 2.4 kids and all that stuff. And that's how they're going to aggregate it. But I think the competition is doing a better model where they don't even have that that surge in a rental price, so to speak, because it just says the choice is yours. So you can watch it at home anytime you want, but if you want that theatrical experience, go for it. And they're still making that extra money without really losing, or at least burning the potential customer that's upset at the fact that maybe they can't go to a theater, so they have to pay an extra for a service that they already have.
Tom, your thoughts?
I think it's because they can't make the money they are hoping to. They're not like Warner, where I think that's one of the reasons why we're seeing the Discovery mergers, because, and then kind of going back to the article here, is they had a lot of sacrificial lambs this last year. And they can afford to do that because they had AT&T behind them. Disney didn't have the parks open. They didn't have the extra revenue. The only revenue they really had was what little was trickling in from, merchandising and stuff, because what was open. You know, you couldn't exactly go out and buy your kid the Geode action figure. So, you know, like, I'm just kind of joking there, but no, in seriousness though, I think it's because Disney knows they can't afford to do what HBO Max did, but they had to compete in some way. And it worked out well enough for them that, like Script said, you have kind of a multi-quadrant way of working this. If you make it at a certain price point, like $30, it makes it very affordable for a family of 5, but it makes it a bit out of reach for a single person or a couple who, you know, like, I ain't spending $30 for just one movie. I can only watch, you know, a couple times or whatever. And I'd rather go see the movie in the theater, and it's a date experience then. So you're getting it on both ends, kind of like, you know, phrasing, but like Script was saying. But I kind of looking at the bigger picture, I'm like, what are you sacrificing though? What you are sacrificing is that family going to the theater and spending that much more, and then buying that movie on video because the kids have to have it later. You cut out that middle portion there. So right now it may be helping Disney on the surface, but it might be them cutting off their nose despite their face in the end. And I think that the proof is in the pudding when it comes to this article here and what we're seeing going forward with HBO Max is they've learned, yeah, there's a way you can do this, but you can't do it by expecting your big $200 million tentpole movies to be any way, shape, or form profitable on a streaming service right now, unless you have 200 million subscribers, which is what they've told us the number has to be for these movies to be profitable. And they know they're several years off from that. And not only that, I think there's a ceiling on some of these things. I don't think they're ever going to see those kind of numbers because we've seen the articles and we've talked about this for years here with the streaming wars. It's just people will stream hop. They'll keep 1 or 2 main services like Amazon or Netflix, and then every few months they'll bop around to a different service and just catch whatever's new. So, yeah. I mean, that's kind of my take on it, is I think it's the only way they can make money right now, and it'll last as long as they need it to until the theaters are completely open again, or it'll never change. And this is just going to be Disney's way of doing things going forward, because Disney has always been one of those where they want to be direct to consumer. If they can control everything, then hey.
Yeah. And my take is basically they charge extra $30 because that's what they have, what they think they can get away with after crushing the numbers. And they can do that because they are already top of the heap in the streaming game, whereas HBO Max is trying to get caught up, meaning they have to offer an all-in-one deal. There you pay one price, and for that you get all of this awesomeness with no additional cost. And the moment they change that, then they change the deal and they change how appealing their offering is. They can't do that until they are right up there with Disney Plus. And if the numbers presented by the LA Times indeed are accurate, they ain't there yet. And because of that,
not in America yet, anyway. Yeah,
well, it's certainly not anywhere else either, because HBO Max is virtually America exclusive.
Well, that 68 million is a bit better of a number up against Disney's, because remember, I do believe there was a point where they overtook Disney. I do think that happened.
Yeah,
right at that sweet spot where Disney didn't have shit, and they had Godzilla and Mortal Kombat and all that stuff at once. And I do feel like this article was probably downplaying some of those numbers a little bit to make Kalar look bad. Again, there's a lot of glossing in this article, and I feel like this is something maybe we should personally get into for maybe an editorial at a later date, because there's also other sides to this as well. But anyway.
Oh, absolutely. But yeah, moving on with the super chats before we get into the next story of an amazing and revolutionary new comic.
One you didn't know you even needed.
Exactly. One you all didn't know you didn't need, or that you all desperately needed.
It probably could double as a maxi pad.
Yeah, especially the females out there. Oh, you had no idea.
Oh, wait, it's only digital. I forgot.
But moving on, before we get into that, Silk Retori says for $5, I agree. If critics love something, it's probably the steaming pile of shit these days. But if they hate it, it might be good. I prefer a mixed response myself, but yeah, that's me. It's just like if it's too extreme one direction or the other, that's cause for concern. I have come to learn, at least. Hurin the Steadfast says, I don't know how you feel about the EFAP crew, but they tore Loki episode 1 apart. Sounds like a bad show. Yeah, I see everyone in our general sphere of YouTube tearing it a new one, so doesn't seem to be to be great. And House Atreides says, Hail Midnight's Edge. My first impression of Loki was favorable. I was entertained and it left me curious of what's to come. Episode 2, I will be expecting some answers. Yeah, we got that one. And Michael Strelitz also says, did you watch Loki? What a pile of crap. A comedy without being comedy. Disney Marvel is done. Yawn. Yeah, we shall see when we've seen it. So expect a separate stream on that not too long. And Tsukuyomi99 says for $5, while there is no harm in placing some value in the opinions of others, why do people value reviews for something as subjective as entertainment? Now there's a good question. Literature. Why do people value reviews?
Usually people value reviews, I guess, because they want to go into a movie having seen what's like, having someone look at it supposedly analytically, going into the ideas of it, what's had given a presentation of it, even after they've seen the movie. Some people like to enjoy reviews to see what parts they miss, because most people that go into the movie are just there to experience the movie, just there to realize what's going on and kind of just enjoy the service level. Reviews, well, at least how they used to be, are supposed to go to the movie and then point out the elements and things, and point out some cool things you may not have noticed during your initial viewing that you, as Plinkett says, you may not have noticed, but your brain might have. The reason why you like this part so much, for example, the reason why you like this character so much, you liked it, didn't really can't place the reason why, or didn't notice the reason why, or didn't want to pay attention to the reason why, you just knew you liked it. And then the review will come in and kind of break down the ideas of it, the techniques, maybe the the how well it did some things, how badly it did others, and people like to see that. So even if some people have seen the movie, they still enjoy reviews. It's just that with the modern day era, you have these critics who just come in with reviews that are obviously biased and don't do any of that, and just say, "Yep, it's just great," and just show you that see this part, that's amazing. It's fun. It's stunning and brave. And you yourself look at it, and he's like, "No, it's not what it is at all. It's just normal. Like it's something that's just normal and average." And they go, "Wow, this is amazing and brave and fantastic," and they're lying. You instantly know that they are giving you a falsehood. And so people respect reviews that give them honesty. So same thing with writing. People respect reviews and writing stories that provide honesty and provide something, and reviews that provide some deeper content that go into the elements and the building blocks, what they did right, what they did wrong, even if it's like an opinion piece. A good review, even if it's an opinion, or meant to be an opinion, will go into it, and the reviewer will tell you what they found good about it, what they found bad about it, and explain why. And then you can have it's more of like an argument, and you can agree with it, you can disagree with it, and it's kind of fun. And it's kind of fun to, especially for people who enjoy reviews. Some of them find it fun to go into this discussion, and some people might want to see a new take on it or a take on it before they go see the movie themselves. Like, should I spend my time and money going to go see this movie? And a review will say you should or you shouldn't, or the review will say something in terms of here are the reasons why you should, the reasons why you shouldn't. Here's what the movie's about, and you make up your own mind as to if you think they would like the movie or not. It's kind of like asking your friend, "Hey, what's this movie about? I don't know if I want to see it or not." And because your friend knows you, they'll say, "Oh, it's about this, this, and this," and then you go, "Oh, that sounds pretty cool," and you go see the movie. There's a variety of reasons why people like reviews, but reviews always have been important to play a good part of the experience, and for the entirety of the movie-going experience, you want to have a little bit extra in there. Disagree with, agree with, want to go a little bit deeper. But today it's a little bit different because you can't really trust these reviews anymore, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, and it's supposed to be coming from an informed opinion.
It's supposed to be.
Yeah, and I think the best way of explaining it is watch the movie History of the World Part 1, Mel Brooks. With the invention of art came the art critic.
Oh, yeah.
And it's got the guy, he's like, and he shows his art piece, and the art critic just throws the shit on the art.
Just pees on it, yeah.
Or pees on it, that's what it is, yeah.
Well, like, to the point, like, a good reviewer helps an audience better identify their own taste and judgment, because they'll ask questions and provide answers that are probably swirling around in our head, but we don't necessarily know exactly how to articulate right away. And that just helps you get to that conclusion a little bit. Plus, you also are able to gauge the taste of the reviewer. And this is what I used to do in the late 90s and early 2000s, is if there's a reviewer I liked who had similar taste to me, I could trust. And if there's a reviewer I didn't like that had terrible taste, I could read their review. And if they hated the movie, I knew I'd like it. So you have that benefit to it as well. And then to Literature Devil's point, yeah, right now that there's not many reviewers out there or critics that have an honest opinion. They're now a mouthpiece for usually an ad agency these days, where their reputation is being sold to promote a movie that may not actually have the quality or the actual level of effort needed to warrant an actual interest. So yeah, they're compromised at this point. So you have to kind of go elsewhere if you want to get an informed opinion to see if it's worthy to spend your hard-earned money on that movie or television show.
And I also have the idea of I think I saw or was described a situation of like Disney releases a movie, for example, and then you're a cool reviewer. We're gonna give you these tickets, and we're going to allow you to come to a secret viewing of all the critics that we're inviting. It's gonna be fantastic. You're gonna get this gift basket. You're gonna get this and this and this and this and this, all these great things because we appreciate you being a reviewer. And then they're kind of compelled after that to give them a good review because even if they're not swayed by all that stuff, it was probably a pleasant experience and they get respected and feel acknowledged by Disney. And then what happened if you give them a bad review? They might not invite you back next time. So,
an access relationship, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, and I think the reviews, reviewers have been around forever since the beginning of, like I just pointed out with the little joke story from Mel Brooks's movie. But it's true. It's true. And Not only that, I think though in the last 40 years, whatever, Siskel and Ebert really kind of kicked off this idea that a critic can be entertaining. And I think it spawned almost a lot of what we see on YouTube right now with the critic craze, I guess. With, you brought up RLM, Literature Devil, you have the Angry Video Game Nerd, all these other guys who are known for, outrageous reviews. And I think that's kind of like the next step in that evolution. I mean, we're even kind of a little bit a part of that. I mean, we're obviously more subdued, but even Paulie and I, when we get going on our movie review, are a lot like Siskel and Ebert. And sometimes that can be fun to listen to two opposing points. And, like the script pointed out too, sometimes you just pick a reviewer and their point of view, and you either go against or with a movie because of that. So there's a lot of great reasons why we always say it's good to have a few reviewers to follow, at least in our opinion, because then you have a better idea of whether or not you're going to like something. You can save yourself some money or know what you want to go do on a Saturday night.
Yeah, I remember one case in particular. This was, it was the second time that I saw Rammstein in concert, which would have been back in 2005. And then we spoke among ourselves, those of us that had gone, how it was the absolute best concert ever, which it was right up until the next Rammstein concert. But anyway, then we spoke about how this is going to be top grades in all of the reviews. And I said, well, yeah, most of them, but I can mention 2 exceptions. And then I could mention that if it's in this newspaper, if it's this guy, he's going to give it a 3 out of 6. Whereas in this other newspaper, he's going to give it just a 5 out of 6. Because you just kind of know, based on this reviewer and their general taste and preferences, if they are the ones that have been sent, that's what they're going to give. And I mentioned those 2 because those were 2 reviewers where I kind of like had seen the pattern of what they liked and they disliked, and they would not be swayed by anything because their mind was kind of like set already in advance. And lo and behold, the next day it was exactly as predicted. I got some much kudos and many beers bought on me for that.
Well, but what about you, Andre? Yeah. Du hast mich?
Du hast mich gefragt.
Yeah. No, I know. Yeah, that's about the most I can do with that one.
Yeah. But yeah, no, anyway, really, because here's like the thing that you catch a reviewer because you have to, I think you just have to learn like which reviewers have a pattern where they are in basic agreement with you. So the trick is to find a reviewer that consistently values things that are already out, similar as you. And then you follow that or that small subset of reviewers, knowing that you can trust them. Because I've seen way too many cases now of something that is praised to high heavens and it's unwatchable. The same is rarely true the other way. If something is universally lambasted, there's often a reason for that too. So like both extremes, I've learned to be skeptic of.
Absolutely.
And anything that's between those two, well, that's where you probably have your good stuff. But find a favorite reviewer or a number of reviewers that you trust before blind investing. That's what I would say.
Yeah, and if you want to go down the Siskel and Ebert rabbit hole, Joseph brought up a great start. Siskel and Ebert on Benji the Hundred. That's a great one to start with because those two are ripping each other apart because Ebert liked it and Siskel didn't. He's like, "You're fucking insane." It's like the dumbest movie I've ever seen. He's like, "Oh, it does exactly what it means to do." It's hilarious. I love Siskel and Ebert.
It's terrible. It was brilliant.
Yeah. What's better is when they start ripping into each other. And then Ebert will always pull the fucking the card on Siskel about, oh, well, at least I've won the prize, the Pulitzer Prize. But anyway, moving on.
We can actually bring up a good one on screen before we move on with the classics. Mark Whitener, or Whitner maybe. I think it's Whitener, says, Andre and Tom, have you read the Forbes article about restoring the Snyderverse?
Yeah.
Also, a lot of reviewers expect everything to be Oscar-worthy drama.
Oh yeah. Well,
yeah, that's an issue. The Forbes article, that's going to get a separate editorial in the near future.
Yeah, we are aware of that, and the other part, I agree. Like everything is like the bestest ever now. You ever notice that? Like when, especially with Star Wars, when that came out, it was like Last Jedi is the best Star Wars movie ever, or the best Star Wars movie since Empire Strikes Back. Everything is always the best now, and it's like not all of them can be the best, you know. But speaking of Siskel and Ebert, here's the Siskel to my Ebert, Paulie. How you doing, buddy?
Speaking of the best,
around. Okay, anyway, Paulie, the Literature Devil. I don't think you have.
I have.
No.
Oh, you have?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's been a while, but we were, I think we were here the last time you were. But anyways,
okay.
It's wonderful to see a Literature Devil.
Yeah, good to be back.
I pop into your streams about once a week.
Oh, good. I hope you have a good time.
Absolutely. Absolutely, man.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So sorry I couldn't get here sooner, but I've been listening. Fun. I've been listening today.
Hopefully I represented what we were talking about yesterday on your aspect of things well enough, because I know your concerns for Blue Beetle. I did try to express that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's created quite a crap show in my circles of filmmakers and Latino reviewers. You know, to independent Latino filmmakers, it's really interesting what everyone's saying.
Well, it'd be something you might get into tomorrow on Midnight's at Just by Joel.
Oh yeah, I mean, I got to figure out. I got to wrap my head around. I'm waiting to talk to a couple of these people one-on-one because it's just like, you know.
Ooh, so tune in for that, guys. You hear that?
Yeah.
So with that, let's get back into the super chats we were in the middle of, because we know we have some very patient people in the chat who are waiting.
Indeed, but let's do the ones that we have on screen before we get into the classics and the next topic that I know you've all been waiting for. That's a real doozy. Michael Miller wonders, any idea when we get the trailer for Matrix 4?
Oh,
shouldn't be too long, I guess.
I wouldn't. Their thing now. Here's the other thing: is how they've saved a lot of their, I think, advertising money. If you've noticed with the whole HBO Max thing, they won't put the trailer out or start advertising for the movie till like roughly a month just before, as opposed to 6 months before. That seems to be the norm, unless anybody else has noticed anything different. Because we didn't even get a Mortal Kombat trailer till just before the movie dropped.
Yeah, no, exactly. So when is it scheduled to be released?
July, ain't it? Or is this one of the later ones in the year? I can't remember.
Well, is it already July? Well, then they better hurry up.
I have to. No, wait. Let me look.
Yeah, while you look, in the meantime, Master Clockwork says, I'll fully admit that I'll check out Movie Bob's reviews just to see what insane take he has.
He got moved to December.
Well, yeah, that's your take, but again, some people might agree with him, and if they do, then he's the perfect reviewer for them. And yeah, and Tom found out that Matrix 4 has been moved until December. Then it's going to be a little while yet before we and
it doesn't even have a US release date. It just has a Singapore release date listed here, so I don't even know.
Yeah. And Tonnerster Tree wonders, what is the proper translation of Du hast?
Awesome.
That's a very cool question. A tangent I'm happy to go into. Actually, it's double or even triple entendre. Literally, du hast means you have. And if you add an extra S into it, so you have the German double S, that's when it means you hate. And within context, it can also be interpreted as you accused. So you have like that little trio of you have, you hate, and you accused. So it's like you have, you've accused, you hate, That's kind of like the triple there. And the whole song is actually like the wedding vows. That's with everything else. When you ask like the question, do you want to be with this person forever? And you have the woman chanting in the background, yes, and the guy screaming, no. So there's, as with anything Rammstein, there's multiple layers to it. So having fun digesting it.
I'll never be able to look at that song the same way again.
Yeah. And let's see what more we can bring up on screen. Yeah, we got that one. And yeah, that's all we can get up on screen. And yeah, says, Du hast this play on words, isn't it? Yes, that's exactly what it is. And then getting back to some of the classics before we get into the next main topic, the real doozy one. Dash D's says, just to start shite, I believe it's butter/oil on the popcorn that's the real issue here. Yeah, let's not get into the popcorn issue. You need salt on popcorn. That's what you need. And then House Atreides says, for $5 Canadian, we're at a point that people will go back to theaters, but once they get annoyed with people on cell phones and talking, some will say screw it and stay home. Yeah, I also don't think that it's going to come back to what it was quite before. And then we have a couple of ones that we went through. Super Blubberpuss in reference to men. Oh yeah, this is a good transition. Weak feminine men, aka Jack Quaid from The Boys. This is something that women generally do not want. And on that note, let's transition into the next story, where we have Emilia Clarke, who is creating a comic book for women.
You came in at the right time.
I came at the wrong time. I gotta go, Andre.
Yeah, he was not real comfortable with this one.
Transitioning. Well, does that mean I have to change my name to the Latinx Rant?
What is this
actually mask? we did cover Latinx earlier today. I was hoping oh, you were listening. Well, I'm glad to hear it. I hope
we tried to we had you here in spirit.
Yeah. What is this mask on the thing? Is this our superhero
that's
look?
That's the cover.
That's the superhero.
Buttons on her eyes and stuff like that. Her mask is like a sock she could holes in.
Okay. I'm just gonna read this, all right, because you got to hear this shit to believe it. And lucky we have script here too, because he has another perspective on this as well. And hopefully,
I was reading this morning, and it just, the more I read into it, it seems so absurd, so ridiculous, so overblown and over the top. I just feel like Emilia Clarke is pulling some sort of performance piece by making this comic book, and then the performance piece is her making this outrageously over the top SJW woke comic book that the very act itself is mocking them as a performance piece. That's what it feels like to me. It seems like a parody.
I was gonna say, it's kind of funny you mentioned that script. I was gonna say, hold that thought, because I know where you're gonna go. So let's get this article first, and then we'll hear what script has to say, because it's funny you mentioned that, Literature Devil. But I'm gonna try and poly drive through this real quick, because this is just I don't want to be doing this for 4 or 5 days. As a kid in London, Emilia Clarke got a distinct vibe from her local comic book shop. No girls allowed.
Hold it right there.
Yeah, I knew I wasn't gonna get far with this.
Yeah, I just have to say that every single woman that I have seen comment on this, every single toxic femmes that we have in our panel, they all say this is not their experience. There's never been an attempt to keep girls out.
No, it's bullshit. And you're going to smell a lot of bullshit from this article from the start.
It's a perfect example of what happens every single time they encounter something that is male dominated. It can't be because it's male dominated because it attracts men more, like Star Wars or something. It must be discrimination. It must be because all the men are just keeping all the women out. It can't possibly be because this thing just doesn't attract women as much. It must be discrimination. That's their whole ideal.
Are we done with this article yet?
No, Paulie, I'm sorry.
This first sentence was just painful, man.
I know.
First
Go for
two.
a jog, Polly.
Whoops,
Oh,
sorry. I
I've
didn't mean
been
to.
out. I've been out. No, I'm just playing. Go ahead, please.
Go ahead, Andre. I didn't mean to take that down. That was my fault.
Oh yeah, well, I just thought I'd point it out because Mags says, "I'm a girl, never had this issue. These girls are projecting because they were probably the ones bullying the nerds." And yeah, there's some of that going on. I mean, this whole article seems resentful towards male comic book readers and anyone who would go to a comic book shop in general.
Well, yeah. I mean, not only have most women not have had this experience, even Emilia Clarke has not had this experience. Look, she says she had the vibe that it was no girls allowed. It's not that somebody actually came up there and said, "No females can buy comics." That didn't happen. Like, the comic book store guy owner didn't say, "Hey, you can't come in here because no girls allowed." It's not because it actually happened. It's just because she got the vibe. She got the feeling. She made assumptions. Yeah. Okay, it's not something that actually happened. So when people say that the women say that they didn't have the experience, well, yeah, neither did Emilia Clarke. She didn't have this experience either. She just made it up in her head.
Well, and here's where I think
that's made
basically
up.
What you're saying. Yeah, she made it up. That's a great
Emilia
observation.
Clarke
right
in a freaking comic book store? Come on.
Yeah. Well, I think this is a part where I think I should let a little bit known what he talked about last night. Right. As far as Emilia Clarke, anyway, you had kind of pointed out that this doesn't quite seem right to you. Well, not for the obvious reason, script, but you brought up another reason.
Yeah, there's another reason this doesn't seem right to me, because as I mentioned on Mead last night, I've had a few brief interactions with Emilia Clarke. She when you see her, a lot of her interviews and stuff, she's a rather charming, she's a rather affable person. She doesn't really preach any of the things that would be associated with this perspective of a comic book. So it feels like it's out of character. And I know this type of relationship with regards to comic books and celebrities, because usually it's not really the celebrity that comes up with the idea and says, "Oh, I want to make a comic book." It's usually more a comic book writer comes up with the idea, pitches it to a celebrity to get their name associated or involved in some way in order to secure financing to actually produce the book. This has happened with Nicolas Cage, Samuel Jackson, William Shatner, and like even some people in the adult
Keanu Reeves most recently too. Sorry,
what was that?
Is that even Keanu Reeves? I think too most recently, and
Keanu Reeves as well. And I think that Emilia Clarke is just one of the people receiving on this, and whether she believes it or not, I think it's weird, because like I said last night, reading this stuff, it sounds to me like either a publicist or someone else has typed these words for her on behalf of her, as opposed to it coming from her herself, because it just does not sound like the person that I casually, like, I don't casually know, but like the person who I've heard in interviews and person that I've interacted with briefly, like, just doesn't seem like her at all. And I said the only way I could believe this is if something horrible happened to her in the last year and a half that has not been made public, and she's had a complete 180 change in perspective.
Right. And I guess it should be noted that, and you're kind of right to a point, because Marguerite Bennett is actually the first listed author on this book.
Yes.
Yeah,
at least
there you have it. That's the person.
And Isabel Richardson is also another author on this book. And then,
and Marguerite was brought into the industry from Scott Snyder.
Yeah. So, like, again, I do feel like there's probably something to be said to that before we go forward with this, that, yeah, this may not be Emilia's exact wording, or she may not even have said this shit. This could be a publicist or somebody connected with the comic book, or they're twisting or told her what to say as well. That
but
could
it
very
is
well
such
be
a farcical premise. Like,
once we get into this, like, this is just crazy, and I know why Polly doesn't even want to talk about it. And we have another.
We get more into it. We have saying, "I have never felt excluded by the fandom." And Planar Aspect says, "We're desperate to let you in."
No shit, we're taking applications, ladies.
Yeah. And Six even says no, and Six is also a female, by the way. "No way! I walk into a comic book store and it's like the parting of the Red Seas." Yeah, that is shunning. That's getting out of your way, so as not to distract in any way, shape, or form.
Now, I'm not going to say that there isn't. Okay, there is this subsect of the comic book fan group that is really like gatekeepy, but it has less to do with the fact that you're a woman as it does to just do with that's just the way they are in general to everybody.
Everybody, like
exactly,
no matter who you are, they just excuse me, you're not a real fan if you don't know X, Y, and Z. Like, they might have a different preference towards women, like they would assume maybe a woman doesn't know anything, or as opposed to they might know a guy would know something, but obviously it's just about asserting dominance. So kind of just like SJWs, but with different things as our moral crusade. Like their assertion of knowledge on comic books or geek culture is kind of like their virtue signal. Like, look at me, I'm the most, like, instead of saying that I'm the most virtuous, I'm the most knowledgeable of this geek culture thing.
Yeah, and you know what? Those guys, they're mostly showing off to other dudes.
Usually,
pretty much,
yeah. I mean, when Gary talks about his comic book store over at Garrett Nerdrotic, that's the kind of comic book store I always liked and I frequented, where he said when he would see a new customer, he knew that that was probably that customer's first comic book. So he was tried to be as inviting as possible. And that's what I always looked for in that environment, because especially when I was a kid, this was like a whole new world to me. I didn't know any of this stuff. So the first thing that would have turned me off would have been some guy going, well, you don't know who fucking wrote this issue of Fantastic Four, then get the fuck out of my shop. If I ran into that, it's just a rumor, Sean, but we're checking our sources.
But also too, it's like if they were jerks, they were jerks to everyone more.
Pretty
more
much,
dudes.
exactly.
And then when chicks would walk in, they'd be all nice and shit.
Yeah, that's pseudo alpha stature right there. It's not real alpha stature. It's just
exactly
them trying to appropriate it.
But yeah, so back into the actual. Oh, go ahead.
There's one more thing: is that this is big stuff. Like this, if this actually happened, if she felt no girls allowed stuff, this would be a huge thing that you could use this to virtue signal. And usually you get a story like I when I was a girl, I walked into a comic book shop and there's a big nerd who just decided to say, no, I would try to buy a comic book, and a neckbeard materialized in front of me and said, no, females can buy a comic book, something like that. If this actually happened, there would be a story of some kind accompanying it, because of course there would. There would be. I'm surprised there isn't one, and she just made it up. Like that's how surprising it is. So no, I don't. No, I doubt she had this experience.
Yeah, well, that's where I think script is kind of right. This seems like a work of fiction, so it's probably the Marguerite or whatever who is actually coming up with half this crap.
It's probably a better work of fiction than the actual comic will be.
It probably,
yeah.
Well, I don't know about that. Let's get into this.
Well, let's continue the.
Okay, so it gives us a little info on Amelia. We all know who she is. It says she spent her adolescence reading hand-me-down comics from her older brother and meeting caped crusaders on the big screen. I read a lot of fantasy novels of rich worlds as a child, like Lord of the Rings. That was always the place my imagination would gravitate towards. Later on, I went to Comic-Con for the first time at 22 with Game of Thrones, and I was amazed at what I saw. Almost entirely men. Later, as tides turned in the industry and #MeToo emerged, I began to look at the community through those eyes, and it was arresting.
Men. It was full of men. You notice that she says that she got comic books and stuff like that, supposedly speaking, from her older brother, and then mentions Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings is not a comic book.
Yeah, okay? No, exactly. So
Lord of the Rings is a novel, and the thing is, women don't usually read comic books by and large. They usually gravitate towards prose novels because women tend to like descriptive wording, purple prose. Like pick up a romance novel. And that's pretty much everything women like. They like
little basic story. Biology. Men are visual, women are.
Yeah, but if you go by the numbers too, women tend to gravitate towards prose fiction.
Exactly.
And in fact, if you were to take the people who just read prose fiction, which is words and novels and things, women are the predominant readers and patrons of fiction and prose works, whereas men tend to gravitate towards nonfiction more than women do. So if you're writing a book, you're writing a novel, like a traditional novel, not a comic book or anything, but a traditional novel, you are essentially more or less writing for the female audience, especially if you're writing for writing romance and things. But fiction in general, like prose works, fiction in general, your predominant audience is going to be women. Now with comic books, it's different. It's men tend to gravitate more towards comic books. That's what the difference is. But no one demonizes the whole women taking over the prose fiction things. No man will go in there and say, "Oh, I went to like a book club. It was all women.
Yeah,
no guy will say that. Okay.
yeah.
Whatever
Well,
done with a woman.
who's that guy that writes all those sex novels again? I forget the 50 Shades of Grey and Twilight. Oh yeah,
that guy, not a guy at all.
exactly. Yes, exactly. Great point. But yeah, so moving on with this though, she says Clark started dreaming about what a comic book might look like from her perspective, a notion that quickly gained steam. She recruited an all-female creative team and made a comic book that is undoubtedly one of the most progressive female heroes in the genre. MOM, Mother of Madness, will publish in July from Image Comics. And I don't know about publish.
That name sounds like a villain, actually.
Yeah, that's exactly one of my points. Is that I meant this morning that Mother of Madness. That sounds like someone who be friends with a Joker. It doesn't sound like a hero to me.
I guess it's supposed to be printed, but according to Amazon, it's only going to be digital for now. But anyway, from co-creator Clark.
Yeah, there's a reason for that, because that way they save on printing costs.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Exactly.
That's one thing I noticed about the modern day heroes and old-fashioned heroes. Like, heroes used to be them being noble made them heroes. The modern day hero, the modern day woke hero, is that instead of nobility making them correct and the good guy, it's how angry they are. Your anger justifies your actions instead of nobility justifying your actions.
It's a resentment form, yeah.
Pretty much, yeah.
Theomimesis? How do you say that? Somebody help me, please. Theomimesis?
Theomimesis. No, let's see. Theomimesis. Theomimesis, yeah.
Says, are tampons this hero's kryptonite? No, my doll is.
Or pregnancy.
Yeah. Yeah, anyway, moving back into this.
Or lack of a babysitter.
Oh, lack of a babysitter sucks.
Well, if she's a mom and she's going out, on the streets heroing, she's not taking care of her kid at home, so someone's got to, right?
Right. Well, here comes the part we were talking about before. Written by Clark and Marguerite Bennett of Bombshells and Josie and the Pussycats, with art from Leela Lees, the Horde. Or Horde, simply Horde. In doing my research, I found that 16% of comic book creators are female, according to a 2019 study, and only 30% of comic book creators are women. On the other hand, roughly half of the comic book buyers are female. Something did not sit right with me in that exchange, and all these signs are telling me,
what else
to make
isn't right?
my own. Go ahead.
What else isn't sit right? Those numbers. Okay, 50%.
That sounds very wrong. I don't buy those numbers.
Where do you pulled that out of nowhere?
My conjecture is that when she says that 50% of the comic book readers are women, she's including manga readers. Because if you include manga readers, that's probably more accurate.
I agree completely. When she's talking about creators, she probably is dealing exclusively with the American market. But the moment she talks about readers, she's including manga in that.
Exactly. You know what? And the downfall here is that manga is popular with the women readers because guess what manga has? It has a variety. So you have your shonen, manga, which is like My Hero Academia and stuff like that, Dragon Ball Z. But manga also has a huge plethora of romance and drama. And the thing is, men tend to gravitate towards superheroes because superheroes are like what men kind of like. They like big, strong guys going after bad guys, conquering enemies, accumulating power. Yeah. And women are attracted to those characters as well. But it's predominantly if you're writing superhero fiction, your audience is probably going to be predominantly men. If you're going to have the superhero plots, the traditional superhero plots, things like that. So instead of making a book that is centered towards women, which is basically what you want to have, that is going to be like more romance and drama oriented, she's going to go ahead and say, hey, half the comic book readers are women, so I'm going to make a book that's in a male dominated genre. Brilliant. It's totally disregarding the fact that manga that she has to be including. That manga draws in a lot of women, but also it has a large variety of what women like, which is drama and romance and things of that nature.
Well, not just that, but taking us back to that other conversation we were saying before, a lot of the things that men are attracted to in those genres and aspire to want to be and all that kind of stuff is what women like to check out because they want to see men acting that way.
And manly men, yeah, exactly.
And they find that romantic and all that kind of stuff. And Mags, I guess I gotta put my narrator thing in here. Amelia Clark's new comic book is sponsored by Always and brought to you by Tampax.
Yeah, it kind of does seem like that as we'll see. And while we have it on here,
Yeah.
Mexican Iron Man also says for $19.99. Thank you so much, amigo. I'm a comics collector since age 10. I'm an Uber supporter of indie comics, #Comicsgate backer. I'm sitting here eating pizza, and I just got nauseous. Who the hell asked for this? And where's the market demand for this horse crud?
You might want to stop eating pizza as we get deeper into this article.
Yeah, like lay off the pizza for right now.
And there's a very bad joke I could tell right now.
Yeah. Or we just take the super chats and we move on to the next story.
I love you, Paulie, but unfortunately, this is part of the job.
Well, listen, even Raquel Briggs, who's got her Star Trek shows and stuff with Clobber and Time, she's in the chat. I always remember what she's. Yeah, I always remember what she says in regards to the female anatomy, and that it's a powerful, strong, wonderful thing. And this is not that. That's just my strong opinion. And
no, you made some very good points.
And I always go back to what Raquel says, because someone was like saying, "Stop being such a pussy," and she's like, "Technically, it's stop being such a wiener with balls because the
testicle, technically, yeah,
right. The testicles are way more sensitive and less powerful than the vagina.
Yeah, every man knows if you get flicked in the junk, it hurts.
And so I'm just like, I'm just so upset with this article. It's not a matter of I'm not uncomfortable at all about.
No, but you did make some good points.
Well, let's tear off the plaster so we don't have to keep him squirming anymore and get
I'll get back to this. Over with. Yeah, because it's not a very long article. We keep stopping. So MOM is centered on Maya, who is a busy single parent, and their life is upended by the discovery of superpowers. She's a single mom that's got to get shit done. This was born from the idea that single mothers are superheroes. You need superhuman strength to do that. When you get into your 30s and your friends start having kids, you're like, oh my God, I was not aware of what it took. Holy shit, she said.
It's like such a Hollywood moment where she just climbs down for 1 second up from her ivory tower and says, whoa, this is what normal people live like?
Right? Another key
kids exist? That's where I came from.
Another key identifier for the character is that all of her powers manifest from her menstrual cycle.
Wonder what's next. Like, oh my goodness, I just figured out this Hitler guy is just awful. We need to stop this guy immediately.
You know what? I'm gonna stop here. I'm gonna say, look, and I'm with Paulie on this one. I know where he's coming from. I'd have no issues with it. And yes, thank you, Six. But I would have no issues with this if you stopped there and didn't have the whole thing with her manifestation of her superpowers being from her menstrual cycle. If you had a single mother who was juggling being a single mother and a superhero at the same time, that's an interesting concept, right? You can do something with that. I'm sure Script and Literature Double could do a lot with that. But now you have to add in all this extra nonsense, and it sounds like a Melissa McCarthy movie.
And Mother of Madness sounds like a pulp story where the good guy has to fight the Mother of Madness. That's what it sounds like. Yeah,
you just
take away the name, but the concept of a single mother who also has to juggle being a superhero isn't a bad idea to work with.
That could be fun, actually. Yeah.
Yes.
And you just connected the story with Melissa McCarthy. Thank you.
They kind of did this idea with like DS9, Star Trek DS9, where they had Benjamin Sisko juggle being a father and a guy running an entire war.
Great example, and that's what I was getting at too. But Paulie, you're right. I'm sorry, but the bloating, the hair growth, the mood swings, the acne, all of it. We hate that when it happens. Speaking for myself and everyone I've ever met who has had a period, there's just a whole lot of weirdness with that statement. But anyway, what if we turned that around and made the period something that we can feel as this unique, crazy, superhuman thing that happens in our body? Oh, you mean like when you create life?
Yeah, exactly. I was about to say, how is that absent? How is that absent from the article? I mean, those things are what's the foundation of the superhuman power of creating life. Men can't do that.
Yeah, we're part of it.
We can mimic without men. But yeah, basically, you catch my drift here.
But that's what I think bothered you most last night, Paulie, too, wasn't it?
What's that, man?
Well, that they're just ignoring the fact that, you know, women have the ultimate superpowers. They get to harbor and help create life.
Yeah,
You know?
and you know, every woman is different in her with with their monthly bill, just
Right.
with what they have to deal with you know, and I'm not uncomfortable. I just wish like we could have a female on the panel.
I do
talking
too.
about
Yeah,
that,
I
because
wish too. We
that's
try to
where I'm
reach
just
out.
like it's
Yeah, so again, we don't have to get too much
and I'm
into
not
this
trying to
because
be all this
obviously
or that.
this ain't made for us.
Right.
But,
I'm not
No,
saying
we get
we
that.
have
We
to be
get that.
represented here. It's just that I don't. It's like I could have my opinions, which we all do. And this article seems ridiculous. I do know that different, you know, from the people that I know, from my girlfriend and whatever, is that it's different for each woman.
Right. But no, here's a great point though, Paula, we can make without any women on the panel. Name me one male superhero where their penis or their sex drive is all their superhero powers.
I think there's one in The Boys.
Well, that's okay. Isn't
But
that
that's
I
satire,
can name
so
you
it's not-
one. Or Orgasmo, I think it was like that parody.
that's
thing
not
for
a
the
that's
South
not a
Park
real
thing.
that's a parody. That's my point, and that's what this ends up sounding like, and that's why I brought up Melissa McCarthy.
I had the idea this morning on my stream that what it was kind of like, you know, a period is basically you're just getting rid of waste. You're these eggs are just dead, and you're expelling that. And it's like, what happened if you're like a superhero who only got powers during bouts of horrible diarrhea, and you go
You'll
around
have
there.
that kind of shit in a parody comic, yes.
or a erectile dysfunction man type of thing.
And he can't fight anybody, and so unless he has diarrhea, so that's kind of a problem. And so he brings out, and my idea was that he brings around Taco Bell with him at all times.
But I'm talking a serious, actual superhero.
Literature devil. Did you just say Taco Bell in front of me?
Yeah, don't say that in front of me. It's like a swear word.
You bring on Taco Bell with you all the time, and then whenever you need diarrhea, you just eat a burrito, and then boom, we got powers.
Well, you know, the thing is, according to her world and in her people that she runs with, that already exists. You know, everything that's male with comic books is heavily toxic, and just throwing our cock and balls around, so to speak.
Well,
not if you're erectile dysfunction, man.
Hi-yo.
Exactly. I mean, okay, I should rephrase my question. Name me one successful one that isn't a parody, okay? Because once we get into this character, that's why I said it. This sounds like a parody character. And Script brought up the point last night. Like, yeah, you could probably have some fun with this in a parody, but it wouldn't work as a movie, maybe as an SNL skit. You know, like you could do something with that. Because didn't you even say there was like a script going around Hollywood a lot like this for a while, Script?
Yeah, around 6 years ago, a writer in her 60s, a female writer in her 60s, wrote a parody where these three women were told as children that this type of cycle is like a superpower, and they take it literally and make some online videos claiming that they have these superpowers during this time, and it goes viral, but it's all a joke because they're not actually doing anything super heroic while this is happening to them.
It's just the normal.
But they think they are, and people are like lapping it up because it's like they get in on the joke, but the main characters themselves don't until the end. This thing went around town for a while. Just nobody would pick it up just because it didn't feel like it had many legs. But Marguerite at the time, she was in the neighborhood at the time the script was circulating. I wouldn't be surprised she thought that could be an interesting premise.
Influenced by it,
and has been trying to work this way and get someone to go on board to help get publication and financing, and she somehow managed to convince Emilia Clarke to hop on board with that.
Well, I could see that happening.
Probably her agents tried to convince her it was a bad idea, or it was a great idea.
Yeah.
So she needs new representation.
I have a top 10 remakes list we can go over. Great Scarface.
I love
Shop of
Polly.
Horrors.
I do.
Well, I think her agents took a look at Keanu Reeves' recent success and said, "Hey, this could be that for you."
I really do think that, because again, like going back to our whole point is, I think they looked at that script and they're like, yeah, this is kind of funny, but going back to what Paulie said, you can only go so far with this before it gets a little into like territories you don't really want to get into, and some people take things very
Yeah,
seriously.
speaking of, we have to hurry through this because there are many more people squirming and suffering.
I don't blame them because we're not even getting to the worst parts yet.
I mean, end the story. The end.
Okay, let me get into this crap. What if we turn that? Okay, what if we turned that around and made that time of the month something that we can feel is this unique, crazy, superhuman thing that happens in our body? When Maya
you should be feeling already.
Yeah, when Maya is scared, she goes invisible. When she's angry, she has superhuman strength. Perfect. She can swing like Spider-Man from her armpit hair.
Hair's brittle; it will break.
That's the part that I was that thought that I came to the conclusion that this is a parody.
That's what I'm saying.
This is the whole thing about because he said, "Oh, we could do this, and then funny third thing." That's a comedic build up. So is this a performance art piece? What's happening here?
Well, that's what I said. It's like they're doing this shit just so we talk about it anymore. Like, because nobody else is going to bother reading this shit.
Obviously, that whole thing there about her swinging around like Spider-Man
armpit hair.
On her armpit hair as it was like web swinging, that's put in there just to get attention, and there's absolutely no other reason for it, none at all. So that's really manipulative, and Mag says, as a woman, I'm rather uncomfortable with all of this. I'm sorry for all you men. What are you? So you're saying you don't feel empowered by Emilia Clarke's superhero, the Mad Mother swinging around in her armpit hair? Well, I'm very sorry that she failed. Then
the funniest part about all this is that they're doing this to empower women. Like, what woman will want to go to a book where the main superhero is this ugly, this disgusting thing who just swings around by her armpit hair and is powered by her period? What is? Have you seen fiction that's written for women? It's centered around aesthetics and being beautiful and pretty.
For what it's matronly, yeah.
Like, ask any weirdo, like neckbeard nerd who doesn't like shower for like 6 months. Okay, being grotesquely hideous is not going to draw in the ladies.
Well, we're almost not going to work. We're almost done with this article, and for what it's worth, this next part of the article gets into how it is a comedy, folks. So it is supposed to be not taken too seriously. But
thank freaking God for that.
Thank fucking God, right? Like, she's so ashamed. She's so ashamed of her powers at the start. It's mental. Even today, if your tampon falls out of your bag, it's embarrassing. Why? Though it's asked Clark.
Is it?
Yeah, I don't know about that. That's just
I don't know about that.
Yeah. They only know how to do comedy. Like, this is SJW comedy. So it's basically just around comedic, like comedy based around hating people and discussing people. Like, notice that they're going to kind of insinuate that's kind of like Deadpool, because that's all they know how to do. As another part they know how to do is break the fourth wall, quirky, campy comedy, and that's it. This quirky comedy, break the fourth wall, and disgusting stuff because it's easy to do.
Yeah, and then that's the thing here is, and that gets into this next paragraph here is, though the topic's themes are raunchy humor, the publisher describes the tone of the series as Deadpool action meets Fleabag comedy, lend themselves to film. There's the other point of this. Clark's ambition was not to create a vehicle for screen rather than an artifact she can enjoy on my deathbed. Bullshit. She's already ticked the box on comic book adaptations, having joined the cast of Marvel Studios with the anticipated Secret Invasion, a Disney Plus original that will explore the shape-shifting aliens introduced and blah 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 blah. The people behind there are
blah blah. Nobody cares.
Blah 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 blah. Yeah, I remember Star Wars. Blah 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 blah. Yeah, the rest of it is crap until the end. She just says it. I think it's glorious. It's a trippy as fuck to see my wig everywhere. Clark said of the iconic white blonde wig. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, okay, that's it. That's comes out in July.
Literature Devil. Can you please come back sometime, please? Please return to the show.
Actually, that was part of the reason I brought him in here, because I know he'd love this topic.
Oh, okay, good. All right, well then I'll just shut up.
I mean, I was half kidding there, but I mean, comic books and writing and stuff like that. I just, like, Literature Devil. Come on, what the fuck, man? Help me out here.
Yeah, share your feelings.
Did we lose him?
Was it too much for him?
You're muted, Literature Devil. I don't know if you're talking.
Yeah.
I think it was too much
think it
for him.
was too much for
I
him.
think we lost him with the swinging around on her armpit hair.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
that was pretty rough.
At least we didn't get to the part where she could snare her enemies in the same hair.
Script.
Oh my god.
Scripts.
I'm trusting in your expertise voice in that this isn't really her saying this.
Yeah, I find it really hard to think that she's serious in any way if this is actually her. I mean, if it is really her, I weep for what happened to put her in this direction. But it just seems so out of place from my experience. So, but one thing it's doing, like, it got into the trade, so people in the industry are going to be paying close attention to the digital sales, and if it spikes, that could lead to there being some sort of live action version of this starring Emilia Clarke.
Starring
and if it's
Emilia
not an actual
Clarke as
comedy or
armpit
farce,
hair lady.
yeah, and if
That'd
it's
be a
not
better
a comedy
name.
or farce, it's going to be weird.
Well, at the very least, it'll be produced by Amelia Clark and starring Melissa McCarthy.
That would just like dot the I, wouldn't it?
Well,
but again, you hit on the point right there, Script. If this had been in Bleeding Cool or something that covers like the, shall we say, activist side of the comic book industry,
or the Mary
I
Sue.
wouldn't be too surprised. But this is freaking Variety. Script, what does this mean? Why is this in Variety?
I wish I could have a prop. I think it's because the people that are behind this book want it to eventually be an actual film property, whether it's live action or animation. I don't know.
It must
It's
be.
being
There must be
co-financed by
like
Image, and Image has got a big hit on Amazon with their Invincible series.
Yeah,
That's what it seems like. It seems to be the pattern that's going around, is that all these people getting into comic books are getting into so they can have a comic book, and then the next step is getting making a Netflix deal or an Amazon deal or something like that.
Yeah, I'm very glad to hear that literature is back and awake again after
We didn't
recovering
kill
from the shock. We didn't kill you. We're glad to hear that.
And
anyway, your take on all of this. We've gone through the article. We've gone through the details of Armpit Hair Lady and all her amazing powers. That it's implied that women were supposed to be ashamed by, right up until Emilia Clarke comes and tells everyone it's okay. Your take on all of this.
I can't wait. I can't wait till this comes out next month. I'm going to buy it. I'm going to absolutely stream it. It's going to be great. This is a brilliant genius. I mean, who doesn't want to read about a superhero who swings from buildings with their armpit hair, is powered by a special dump only women can take, and
Blinds her enemies with hot flashes.
Exactly, and crushes human traffickers with inflated boobs. Who doesn't want? I like how this. It seems like a uniquely SJW character, not just because of the feminist stuff, because the idea of her turning invisible when she gets embarrassed, and her becoming superhumanly strong when she gets angry. Like
Not a good thing.
Yeah, that's an SJW description. Also, I want to point out that there's no actual nobility here. There's no you're trying to fight for justice or something like that. It's always about being angry and then having social awkwardness where she can disappear and fighting some human traffickers. Like, for what reason? Like, what's her reasoning behind this? What's her motivation? Does she fight for justice?
Yeah.
Does she just hate people? What's going on? And everything, it feels like, I don't know. Is she killing these human traffickers because they're muscling in on her territory? Like, she's the human trafficker around here. Get out of here. What's going on? Like, I don't. This person doesn't come around as a superhero for me. It's not described as a superhero for me. This is just a person with powers, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah,
Anti-hero for sure.
There's that emptiness there. Like, I mean, a hero can have a lasting power based on the types of villains they face. So, I'm curious, what villain will this mom have to face?
Oh, I'm sure it's going to be a male villain, and it's going to be something phallic about him.
Like someone named Dad?
Yeah, maybe.
Mom versus Dad.
Dad of derangement.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, the truth is, there are some women that resent and hate having to deal with that. So maybe this is where that's coming from.
Well, there is that, and there's other sides to it too. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
I'm again.
I shouldn't even say anything.
I guess this is coming from Amelia's. Was this her Twitter? I think. Or is it her? What is this? I think it's her Twitter.
Oh, that's Instagram. She's not on Twitter.
Her Instagram. Okay, this is off her Instagram. Amelia Clark alert. Wow. Okay, so for the last 2 months, I've been creating a comic. Kept it quiet, didn't I? It is called Mother Madness, as I couldn't be prouder of my girl. Maya is a badass single mom superhero. She's funny, she's fierce, and she's just a regular woman trying to figure her shit out. Well, that's exactly what they said in the article. But with the addition of some helpful lady powers, it couldn't be more feminine. It couldn't be more fabulous. I wrote this one from the heart and designated it with nothing but love. Oh, I really hope you guys enjoy this. It hits stands on the 21st of July, and I will be dropping more nuggets of joy as we inch closer to the day. Oh, goody.
You know what this old sounds reminds me of? Marvel's now defunct super activist New Warriors.
Yeah.
This sounds like that. I mean,
the social New Justice
Warriors sound like that sounded like a parody right there. But this has taken it to a whole different level.
I can stop this world. I want to get off, please. Can I?
Yeah. All right, but you know what? Let's poll the chat here. Now that you have heard what this idea is, it's getting released in late July. Will you buy this? Let's just have a very brief vote count here. If you will buy this, just for whatever reason, even if it's just to see how crazy and how bad it is, hit 1. If there ain't no way in hell, hit 2. Let's just see the numbers here.
Yeah, I mean, you got a lot of.
I've got a delay.
People are just saying no.
No, fucking no. No chance in hell. Buy it? No. 2.
Natasha did a 1.
There we go.
I like what Mag says here. She found some other
Order
numbers.
66. That shit.
Has that replaced the old 86?
Hey, Krusty Moko's gonna buy it. I don't think you're the demo, Krusty.
Yeah, like Krusty, this wasn't made for you.
I can remember. Yeah.
Someone said.
I mean, this is something that obviously, men shouldn't be buying this because it wasn't made for. It's probably problematic. It's like maybe some weird male gaze or something. If you do,
I don't know what 3 is.
I think this one is for the ladies.
Nah. I'll wait for just some guy in Literature Devil and as his reviews, and I'll just laugh along with them.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely buying this, and it's definitely going to be on Maury Nonsense. I'm definitely going to cover this. It's going to be incredible.
I can imagine.
It'll be a write-off too for your channel.
Great for your channel. Great for your channel.
Now, one thing that everyone who's heard me before on my streams, I really dislike taxes. I hate taxes. So yeah, I'm going to get all the write-offs I can.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Yeah. So that's right. One good thing with this book. It's a good tax write-off.
You could probably even write off the therapy bills afterwards too.
Claim it.
Probably.
Yeah, good stuff.
So I think we had some super chats. Let's get off this subject.
Yes. Let us get off this subject. I think we've beaten it way enough. We're so sorry we couldn't have any of our usual toxic femmes here to discuss it, but I look forward to them tearing into it. That should be a doozy. And getting back to the super chats, let's see where we were. Mookie Not Truck says for £5 it's funny that another super chat says Transformers, because the Transformers comic books actually did that. Well, yeah, to transform means from changing to one to another. So yeah. Grand Wasu 42 says for €10. Thank you so much. Hail Midnight's Edge. Glad you got the devil as a guest today. He has interesting points to add to the conversation. Waited a long time for that. Oh yeah, and we're so glad that you're here as well. So yeah,
Yeah, appreciate you having me on.
Totally agree.
You have to come back many more times. So I'll be a hoot. And Adam Wofford says for $5, okay, Amazon has MGM Studio that owns Stargate. Do you think they will do anything with it? If so, do you think they will bring back the OC characters? Okay, Devil, this is one for you. Now that Amazon has MGM and therefore Stargate, what do you think is going to happen with Stargate?
They're going to inject it with wokeness. Everyone's going to be a woman or whatever it is. They're going to be Mary Sue's. Well, Amazon is kind of like, they like to play a little bit. So like with The Boys, the first season was okay. It was still pretty terrible, I think, because I read the comic books first. If you want to watch an Amazon show about superheroes, don't read the comic books first. It just makes things worse. But I read the comic book first, and then I was like, why is Huey American? Why is Huey tall? Why is Starlight this strong, confident woman to begin with? Why is everything so awful? And then it was like at the end of this first season, it was like, it's barely okay. It's got some interesting stuff in there. They casted Billy Butcher well, I guess. But then they injected it with wokeness. They just season 2 is like, okay, we got him now. Boom, wokeness. Boom. Women get it done. All this stuff, like just drop it on you like an anvil. And then they bring in Invincible, and then it's mostly good. It's a lot. I think they treated Invincible better than they treated The Boys. But I enjoyed Invincible for the most part, but the woke parts of it were kind of undeniable.
No, they were there, but they were also ignored by the rest of the characters in the thing. It's only from espoused by that one, the girlfriend that nobody likes anyways.
Amber was like a huge weight wrapped around the neck of Invincible. Like it was just, she's dragged down everything that was good about it every second she was on screen. She was awful character. Like what a horrible person. I've seen so many videos making fun of her and how Mark should have handled it. It's like, get out of here. No one wants you. Also, like she was like this awesome detective somehow. Like they go off and describe how no one can recognize anyone who's a hero because if you're not expecting to see a hero, you won't see one, which is actually true in human psychology. If you're not expecting somebody, you're not going to see it. Like it's really difficult to see.
You won't make the association. Yeah,
exactly. So and then Amber just not only did she discover all of this, not only did she figure out that Mark is invincible. And then like his dad is Omni-Man and everything. She just says, well, yeah, of course I knew it. It was obvious. I'm not stupid. She doesn't even explain how she came to the conclusion. It's just, of course she knows it because she's just awesome, I guess. And
she's the exact opposite of her comic book counterpart.
Exactly. Because in the comic book, they did it correctly. She's Mark's girlfriend in the comic book.
Yeah, she's this nice, endearing person that found him interesting and then was blown away when the reveal happened and was still there. And the conflict of that relationship of trying to balance a relationship with a normal person versus a superhero is what ended up to it being like a breakup, but more of an amicable one as opposed to a contentious one.
Yeah, it was more like I don't want to be with you because I keep worrying about you, as opposed to you're a jerk, Mark, because you're a hero, rather than going to help me with soup kitchens and crap.
Well, not only that, I also think it kind of parodies the CW mentality with their pseudo conflict with the love interest, which is you're keeping secrets from me, and why aren't you there for me all the time? It's like that's not real relationship stuff, especially for someone who's in a position of either like being a firefighter or a paramedic or a cop. Like there's an understanding there once you know of what they're doing.
And it was her reactions were understandable until you figured out that she knew the entire time. And then what? Then why are you acting this way? It doesn't make any sense. But as far as the question goes, are they going to keep the original characters? What they're going to do with them and stuff? They're going to do just that. If Amazon gets in control of them, they're going to they're going to inject the wokeness into it. They're going to do what they're probably going to do with Lord of the Rings, where they didn't want Lord of the Rings. Obviously, they wanted Game of Thrones, but they got Lord of the Rings, so they have to settle for Lord of the Rings. So they're going to put just nude scenes and stuff in Lord of the Rings, and they're going to do that. They're going to do that with all the properties that they got. Probably
can't wait for Barely Legal Smeagol.
Well, oddly enough, Stargate SG-1 did start with some nudity in the early episodes.
That's so weird, man.
Because it was on Showtime.
Yeah,
Stargate,
and
yeah.
also
Sorry.
they could
Well,
air
that's
that
all
on
right.
Canadian television as well without any censors at the time.
What were you saying, Paulie, about being weird?
Lord of the Rings and nudity. It's just
It doesn't fit, does it? Maybe
really,
some elves running around half naked, but
yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
you talk about
we're not lucky. There are going to be hobbits and they're going to be male.
I mean, Devil, how do you feel about that?
No, about Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, I mean that's like
That's awful.
amazing. That's amazing. Literally, you think about amazingly written books.
Yeah, is the grand or maybe the grandfather or maybe the father of modern day fantasy, and he's also he put his own views in there. Like he's a Christian,
Totally.
really. Yeah, and he put and his books are not made for that adult audience like Game of Thrones. It's made for like a general audience. It's made for he wanted to have it accessible to kids, not for kids, but accessible. At least he did it with The Hobbit. But
especially The Hobbit, right?
Yeah, especially The Hobbit. But he wanted to. But with Lord of the Rings, it wasn't about nudity and sex and violence. It was about violence, sure, but it was mainly about an adventure taken on by the smallest, most
vulnerable. Yeah,
vulnerable. Yeah, most vulnerable character you can get, which is like a small little hobbit, and the hobbits are just like lazy guys. They just eat all day, dance, drink, smoke weed all day, and that's what they do. So the person you would least expect to be a hero is going to be the one who saves the entirety of Middle Earth. That's what the story was about. Okay, the nudity and the nudity, the violence and the sex and everything that fit in Game of Thrones because that's what the story was about. It's about intrigue and lies and scandal and sex and nudity fit right in there.
Violence, yeah.
Yeah, it fits right in there.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Absolutely. And Troy Pacelli, I just want to point this out, says Trouble is My Business is now available, and I believe it's also available on Amazon along with moviezing.com and a few other places. Ironically, Tom Conkle just let me know that my copy will be on the way. So there we go.
All right.
Nice.
Your signed copy, no less, right?
Yes. Well, he's got to order it to him, and then he's going to send it to me. So yes.
Perfect. Very cool. All right. So yeah, there you hear what's going on with Stargate. Just to bring it back to that. And probably nothing good, so don't get too excited. Alexander Wilson says AT&T last earnings list, HBO and HBO Max combined as 44.2 million and 600 globally. Yeah, we got that one. So thanks for pointing that out. Hyperdiver 2 says, not related, but I have officially been banned from MySpace, Twitter, and Facebook.
I asked before and I didn't catch the reasoning.
Internet
yeah, what did you do to honor that or to deserve that honor? That's like my first question there. Yeah. And Joey says Neuralink will let you back up your movie memories until Hollywood finds a way to copy protect the cinematic experience. Yeah, good point. And Alexander Wilson says, there's a Hollywood Reporter article that's Shades Killer that came out today, and it shows a picture of him wearing a wig in a Zoom Warner conference call. Really? I haven't seen that thing yet. We have to get into that and maybe do a double editorial. Right. Yeah. While you're looking, Thunderstorm says, as a consumer, I fear stagnation with streaming service divisional entertainment. With funds being fungible, is this the death of the blockbuster? I don't think so, because the blockbuster movies are the ones that make money. But it's going to be a good long while till you see anything like Avengers business again, is what I'm thinking. But maybe I'm wrong.
Who sent this?
Devil, what do you think?
Oh, sorry.
It was from Thunderstorm, by the way.
The one that I was looking for?
Alexander Wilson.
Yeah, if you can DM me that, Alexander. I'm not finding it here on.
What was the chat again?
But yeah, go back to the other question.
But the other question, the one that I had for you, was: will streaming be the death of the cinematic blockbuster?
It's possible. It's kind of up in the air right now. I think it's just where will people flock to? Because with the cinema, you have this whole experience. It's very fun. You go with the family. You could do all kinds of things by on a trip to the movies. as opposed to sitting at home, which people might not want to do after the whole thing with COVID is over. I don't know. So, I mean, yeah, it's very convenient. It's very fun. But then, sometimes you just want to get out of the house. So I don't know what it might come down to. But if movie theaters end up dying, then, yeah, I don't think at the current rate, like if they stay at this current rate and movie theaters end up dying, many more people flock to just streaming all day. I don't know. But I think will probably some point in time where we won't get these huge blockbusters, as at least it's not as much anymore. But would streaming be the death of the blockbuster? I don't know. It just there's so many factors to take in that it's just it might, but I'm not really sure.
Yeah, well, we'll see what happens there. And then Fake Name says, got promoted. Here's some money. Pizza Commando. Oh, thank you so much for that. Really appreciate that. And
for those who watch Toxic Femininity, we'll get that joke.
Yeah. So we'll be sure to.
No, that was my porn name, Paulie. Anyway, there's Jason Kilar.
He's 50 years old. What's he doing?
That I found the story, so we'll break that down a little bit more. I have a feeling we'll have an editorial.
Yeah, we'll have a separate editorial on that. So we're not going to break that down here because
that's what I was saying.
Thing on that. Yeah,
love this show today.
And then Douglas Nelson says for $10, thank you so much for helping keeping our lights on. HBO Max should have gone with the Snyder Cut as a miniseries. They also need a Batman series, not a Gotham series, but Batman. That'll blow Mandalorian's numbers out of the water. You know what? I don't know about blowing it out of the water, but a Ben Affleck Batman series would certainly be very competitive. And now when you have even Forbes kind of calling for it, you never know what's going to happen. And then Thunderstorm says, the weakness is they needed an Amazon of streaming services for all. This would kill the theater if that's their intention. And Darius Minchhausen sends a popcorn super sticker, and Thunderstorm also has his review of Loki. Good idea, bad writing. And Alexander Wilson also says, according to Deadline, there were only 9.7 million subscribers that have signed up directly to HBO Max by the end of March 21st. That doesn't sound too impressive. And just before we got into the armpit hair lady story, Dash D's says, Tom, if your next topic is what I think it is, I have my spoon ready. And I do not even want to know.
That was right before we got into the comic book.
Yeah,
I did see Loki though, the first episode.
Oh, you did, because Scripps watched it, but the rest of us hadn't. What did you think?
I really don't know what I saw.
That's not too promising.
No, I'll watch the first. I like to go through the first 3 episodes, then I can.
That's
give
not a
really
bad idea. Yeah,
like kind of like what we did with Superman and Lois. But yeah, man, I don't know what's going on there.
And STR Red Wolf says, "Bring back Batman the Animated Series. You're getting your wish,
just not the way that you wanted to.
Hopefully, it's as good as it was, but I don't know. I mean, a lot of the same people involved.
The rumor around town, it's going to be inspired a bit more by the Matt Reeves, the Batman.
That's exactly what we've heard too. That it's going to be a complete reimagination and not necessarily of the kind that we would like.
I'm of the opinion now that everything's going to be woke until proven otherwise. So I can't wait for woke Batman the Animated Series. Or
not on my watch.
We're going to. We're going to find out that Robin, when the whole episode is going to take place, and surrounding a plot where Robin outs himself as trans, and then Batman has a problem with it or something like that because he's an old fuddy-duddy white man. And the end of the episode is going to be about him accepting Robin, Dick Grayson, by the way, because he has to be Dick Grayson. Dick Grayson's transition into a woman or something like that.
So Dick Grayson becomes Carrie Kelly by the end.
Yes, exactly, with hippie parents and everything.
Oh, Jesus.
No, that's a good metric to have. Just assume everything's woke, and then if it's not, you'll be pleasantly surprised.
Exactly. Because that's the way it's proven to be. It's oh cool, this new show. Oh, it's partly woke. Oh, look at this other new show. Oh, it's woke. Oh, this cool new movie. I can't wait for this to come out. Oh, it's also woke. So everything is already woke. Like, everything's gonna be woke, and it's really, really surprising when it isn't.
Damn it.
Correct.
Fuck this shit, I'm out.
Hell yeah. I was looking forward to that. Now I'm not at all.
Yeah, there you go. And then moving on, Dash D's also says, for the longest time, actors like Gregory Peck was considered a big star and manly. You look at what we look to now, well, they're not even close.
Yeah.
And there's like some weird symbol right there, but yeah, there's quite a big difference in testosterone levels and everything.
I think the moment, I think if it wasn't for Rambo coming out in 2020, masculinity would have died with Terminator Dark Fate. The moment they made Arnold Schwarzenegger, the Terminator, into a domesticated, sexless robot who runs an interior decorating
Don't
company.
even remind me of it so much.
I know, Paulie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Like,
just
take the
moving on.
manliest fucking man you've ever seen in your life.
Mm.
Yeah,
And
they changed it from the Terminator to the Decorator.
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm stealing that joke.
But yeah, that reminds me. There was another that they didn't even see the Rocco's Modern Life reiteration in Netflix where they kind of brought Rocco's Modern Life to the modern year. It could have done anything. I was excited about that movie. Like, oh, cool, they're bringing back Rocco's Modern Life. This is great, and it is a lot of fun in the beginning. Then all of a sudden, boom! It goes from a story about Rocco and his friends having lived in space for, I guess, a decade or so, and then just coming back down and reintegrating into modern life, as opposed to the modern life of the 90s or so. And it changes from that story, which would be really interesting. It was really cool to see all the characters interact with modern day technology and stuff. Change from that to a story about Mr. Big Head accepting his transgender son.
Yeah, I read
Out of
that
nowhere.
review and skipped it because I loved the cartoon show as a kid.
And Rocco's Modern Life was a great cartoon show. I love that one. But
Yeah,
that's
I like
what I
one
mean.
Yeah, I like the episode to the motel where it's like, so what do you need? Like, one night, please. The whole night? It's like such a good joke to slip in there. Like, oh, really clever stuff all over the place.
Like, and then his friend, I'm nauseous. I like that guy. That was pretty funny. He's like a nerd friend.
Oh, the turtle,
and,
yeah.
yeah, I think his name is Philb, something like that. It's been a long time since I've seen the cartoon. But it's like that. It's like that. It's really interesting. That's where I got this idea from. That's what they like to do. It's like they try to pull you in with a nice little story at first, and then boom, wokeness, right? Like a bat to the face. Then with the boys also, and with Invincible, they kind of pepper it in there a little bit. Like Mark's best friend and girlfriend are just terrible people. They happen to also be the woke characters, and they also happen to be terrible people. I have no idea why they made them that way, but they did.
Yeah, it seems kind of antithetical to their preaching. Why make the characters that they would want to promote such bad people? Because I liked actually his friend's storyline in the comics where he eventually comes out, and it's not like an obnoxious thing as a result of it. It's just a realization. But they kind of jumped into it really headfirst, and then made him this annoying side character that just you just tune out whenever he shows up on screen.
Yeah, impressive stuff for sure. Moving on from there, we also have Tsukuyomi99 who says, I want Tom Welling and Michael Rosenbaum to reprise their roles as Superman and Lex Luthor personally. Well, let's see what HBO Max has in store for you. With their multiverse, you never know. But we'll see what's going to happen with that.
Tom Welling never played Superman, though.
I was going to say, script will tell you'll probably never see Tom Welling play Superman.
Yeah. He liked working on this show, but he bought into the whole no tights thing.
Yeah.
And on top of that, personally, I think he's a cool guy, but I don't think he's a very good actor. Michael Rosenbaum, I enjoyed him. He's a good actor, but Yeah,
Well, didn't
no,
you
I'm
say
down
that
with
he
those guys.
refused to put the suit on? Like that's why he's the CGI thing in the end of the show.
They
Like,
gave him like a tight blue shirt.
yeah, like
when
he
they
said
did
he's
the
like
stuff.
bow-legged or something like that, and he hated how he looked in the outfit or
He
some
gained
shit
like
like
20
that.
pounds, and on top of that, he was very dedicated to the mantra of the no flights, no tights thing for the show. But the creators kind of left at that point, and new people came in, and yeah, he was just like, no, I'm gonna honor that thing because that's the promise he made. He thought that's what he was doing. That would be what an actor should do at that time. And so it was, yeah, it's just all silly stuff. But I mean, if you like Smallville, good for you. It's not my thing. I don't think Clark Kent should ever be a whiny person.
It had its moments. It has its ups and downs.
I think John Schneider was a great Pa Kent.
I do, yeah. And there's certain aspects of the Superman lore that I like how it explored. Then there's other parts that it would just cringe as fuck. So it's kind of a mixed bag.
Yeah, and then moving on, let's see. Then we have Stephen Alton, who said, and this was when we get into the Emilia Clarke article. What kind of BS is this? At my local comic book store, the owner is male. Everyone else is a woman. And STR Red Wolf says, just how close is this article, again, this would be the Emilia Clarke thing, to an episode of Ed, and Eddie? Could it help if it had sound effects?
Oh, man, I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, I've never seen that show myself, but yeah, who knows?
It's a Nickelodeon. It was a Nickelodeon, I think, cartoon. Yeah.
Dyrus says for $10, girls and jock boyfriends bully the nerds. They are the ones that took over comics and Dungeons and Dragons. They were invited in and pushed the nerds out of their own subculture.
See, I said I used to say something like gatekeep the normies. This is what happens when you don't gatekeep the normies out. Okay, so the thing is, gatekeeping used to be like something kind of stupid because obviously, why would you gatekeep someone out of this niche hobby? But the moment they went mainstream, the moment the normies got in and wanted to get in, they became some incentive to be part of this fandom, to be part of any fandom, pretty much. Because what it used to be, right? It used to be you were part of a fandom and you got made fun of for it. Like you're a Star Wars geek. You play Dungeons and Dragons. I mean, some of these used to be very popular, but then there was a time when they kind of devolved into, if you like Star Wars, if you like comic books, if you like the Dungeons and Dragons, you were a nerd and an outcast. And there was no real incentive to be part of these fandoms unless you actually had passion for that fandom. So the gatekeeping was kind of stupid then. But now we get into the idea that it's cool that they've gone mainstream. Awesome. I can actually out myself as a D&D player, and there's all kinds of support and everything everywhere. It's fantastic. And then, while that was cool at first, you have the normies coming in, and I don't mean the people who like were normal and then decide to become fans. I mean the people who said, "Hey, I can get some easy clout by saying I'm a D&D fan now. I'm not actually a D&D fan, but what I can do is I can claim to be a D&D fan, gain some power, and then yell real loud, and then elevate myself within the fandom and everything." And that's what they've been doing. They've been coming in and started yelling and screaming like, I'm a fan, but I just hate everything about this franchise. Like, this doesn't sound like a fan to me. It doesn't sound like a fan to me.
Turned us into that now.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, and Syntax Air says, I always use that image to describe nerd culture today. And I do quite often pull this out. What's funny is I learned the history of this cartoon. It's actually representing gay culture. This is like an older cartoon. And it's funny because what happened to their culture is now having our culture. And it's those people who are claiming to be representative and allies of certain cultures that are doing this shit. That's what's ironic about this whole thing is it's a cyclical thing. It's not going to stop until it kind of starts eating its own tail at this point. Andre, I think, knows what I mean, because that's what we keep saying when we say this is a manufactured thing. This is not a natural trend.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely not. Absolutely not. This is all funded with an ulterior motive that I won't get into, so we don't shut down.
No, but
so let's move on.
But that's what I love that. I love that little cartoon. It says so much.
Yes, indeed. And then let's see what we have here. Just give me 1 second because I came out of it, and there we're back again. Mr. Tickle Trunk says Gene Simmons and Sylvester Stallone might be the only celebrities I've heard that took the reins on making their own comic books. Yeah, maybe. I honestly don't know the details of that, but if you say so, I'm sure there's something to it.
Well, Gene Simmons put his own blood, well, that was years ago. Never mind. No, I don't know much about Gene's comic, but I mean, I know Sylvester Stallone's. Isn't that based on one of his treatments for a fourth?
Sylvester Stallone, I think, works with Chuck Dixon.
He does. Yeah. Like the two of those, they have
Expendables. That's what I was
does
trying
more
to
of the heavy lifting, but Stallone's there with the guiding force. Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's based on his treatment, ain't it?
Yeah, I think so.
The Expendables go to hell or whatever.
I can't wait for it to come out. I got like 6 copies of that thing. So, and so I think it's being run by your boy Zach. So should be. Hopefully, I think it's coming out pretty soon. I think he mentioned that it's been coming out pretty soon.
We have to go to hell one, right? We have to get Chuck Dixon back for that. I'd love to talk to him again. And for those that don't know, yeah, we've actually had Chuck Dixon here before. If you go and check out the Star Interviews playlist, there we have Chuck Dixon. It was the last talking some Conan with him. But yeah, I think you are right about that. And then Straight White Mage says, also notice most of those prose romance novels have a burly shirtless man on the cover.
Yeah,
this is true.
Usually like a burly shirtless man with the white open shirt, the romance shirt.
Fabio.
Yeah, the Fabio look. They all have that same white shirt with the open chest. Yeah. You think this attract more men? I don't think so.
Very true. And Mr. Tickle Trunk says, how's it male dominated if 50% are women? Vokosos. Which is quite the observation right there. And Durao On says, how can you trust that Clark's comics is going to be good if her made-up real-life comic backstory is stupid? Bonsoir à tous, which means good night, everyone, or good night to everyone, or good evening to everyone.
Very good point. Very astute.
Yeah, exactly. And Joachim Stark sends us 20 Swedish krona as a bribe, and he was with Paulie. Move on from this topic. And Joachim, I'm so sorry that we received your bribe too late, but we appreciate it in any event, so tackar så mycket. And then Bashi Washi says, does the collector edition come with a bloody used tampy, LOL, and a pregnancy test? You know what? I actually wouldn't put it past them at this point.
I feel like Mark Hamill after that joke.
Yeah, or maybe a racer or something. I don't know. And Tsukiyomi99 says, I think some gatekeeping or vetting is necessary. When you do not, you end up with toxic elements seeping in, ruining your hobby. And yeah, this goes right back to what you were saying, Devil, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it's because there's incentive now. There's incentive to be part of these fandoms, not because you like them, but because being part of simply declaring yourself a fan, which is right up the HW's alley, is easy power, easy being easy clout, easy adoration. Instead of actually doing something great, I'm just going to tweet about it. That sort of idea, that sort of mentality. And instead of doing something great, I'm just going to wear a mask. I'm just going to get vaccinated, so I'm an awesome hero now. Like, it's the idea of becoming a hero, but doing it the easy, effortless way. And yeah, it comes up right with that, because now there's incentive to be part of these fandoms. So you get easy power, easy clout, easy adoration. This by declaring yourself a fan of Star Wars or D&D. You get, whoa, you're a fan of Star Wars? Me too. That sort of thing. And you get an instant voice in all of this stuff. And you don't have to be a fan. You are now incentivized. Some people are now incentivized to declare themselves part of this fandom, so they can have some easy power, some easy sway. Is if I can declare myself a fan. They can't question me, and then I can yell as loud as I can that this is racist or sexist or whatever it is, and so I'll get them in trouble, and they'll have to bend to my will, and that's what they've done. By and large, that's what they've done in a large wave. That's what they've done, and it's continuing. But the idea is, what is an actual fan then? I think, and to me, my observations have come to an actual fan has two qualities. That one, they have passion. Because it's not knowledge that makes you a fan. Because you can be a fan of something and have very little knowledge of something because you just became a fan. Like I just watched the first 3 movies of Star Wars, the original trilogy, and now I'm a really big fan of it. I just haven't gotten the knowledge of it yet. All I know is the first 3 movies, but I'm willing to dive deep into the lore of Star Wars. So I think it's more concerning passion and respect for the legacy, respect for the franchise, which I've seen everyone who's against this woke stuff, who was a fan of something, those are the 2 qualities I've seen in every single one of those people, that they have a passion for that franchise and they have respect for it. SJWs have probably neither. They might have passion a little bit, but they definitely can't have respect for it.
Yeah. Oh, that's
and I don't disagree at all. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, they're like the girlfriend that wants to change the man that they're with for the better, even though they're not really interested in the man. Yeah.
Yeah. And on a related note, Mr. Tickle Trunk says even Emilia Clarke is a self-insert, full Vokoso. And Novo Branek says for 40 Russian rubles. So it's a period drama. That's a good one. I see what you did there. Dobro, I improve.
That was good.
Master Clockwork says, so once a month, Mum goes on a bloodbath.
Yeah, it does work better as a villain in this case. The way it just, like I said, yeah, they leave out the part where she kills 3 men on her way to starting her night of fighting crime during that week.
Yeah, and I wonder, like the days before her superpowers manifest, should you like maybe stay away those days?
Yeah.
But, yeah. Anyway, Dyrus says for $5, Fortunato in wild cards. He gained powers using tantric sex. He's a mixed black Vietnamese American. Mother was a lady of ill repute. Okay, I have not reread Wild Cards, but I see I've evidently missed out, and it appears that must have been some kind of tacit or accidental inspiration or something like that, because, yeah, sad stuff. Anyway, and then we have makes a great point, saying, I don't know if this book will be successful. Success may not be the goal here. Aesthetic is everything. This idea/book is not entertaining. Yeah, this might be about something else than financial success. Again, the fact that it's not getting a paper copy, that alone indicates that they don't have much faith that there's going to be much sales here, doesn't it?
Probably not. At least not yet, anyway, that there's any indication. I think this thing may even go the way of the new Social Justice Warriors. Just watch. It may never even come out digitally.
No, I think it might do that. I mean,
yeah,
when they announce it a month and a half before it's supposed to be released, then it's going to come, I think, especially since it's Image. Remember, Marvel is a corporation. They have some standards. Image is creator-owned.
Well, isn't it a new Warriors true. DC?
No, it's Marvel.
Oh, it is Marvel. Okay.
The snowflake in the internet gas guy.
Yeah.
Did they ever come out? Because I saw I saw it canceled, and then I saw it released, but it was released by the fact that they announced that it was released, but when he tried to buy a copy, he said, "Oh, we're all sold out. Sorry about that. We're all sold out."
No, nobody saw it.
And there's no coverage of it online anymore.
Yeah, no coverage. Like, oh, you're all sold out, and it released 10 seconds ago. Okay, sure.
No, didn't happen. It's Fugazi. It came out in what was it? The Mandela Effect universe. Yeah, there. Anyway, moving on, Andre.
Moving on. Then we have, let's see, ActionCom wonders, are these powers a monthly friend or curse? Yeah, I guess we have to read to find out, or at least listen to the YouTube comments. And KitKat says for £5, I can understand why your female YouTubers were all unavailable for this discussion. Cringe.
I have a feeling they're wanting to save it up for the toxic feminine.
Yeah, that could be. So that's going to be a real.
It's going to be a doozy.
Yeah, it's that. It's I can't wait for that.
Tom's going to stay in the back room.
Yeah. For those that think that they try to just avoid this topic and are going to avoid it, you should have seen like the internal toxic femininity panel attendant discussion board we have going. Should have seen the responses there. The ladies, they're keen to dig into this, so just wait for that. And E. Clay Thomason says for $5, she better be tough, or villains will throw her around like a rag doll.
I saw what you did there.
Yeah. Granwasu42 says, oh my god, what a show. I can't stop laughing about this so-called comic book premise.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Glad we could entertain you with it.
We're only the messengers here. And Sean the Movie Man 71 says, every male wants nocturnal emission boy now. Yeah, that's going to be the spin-off comic probably. And KitKat says, imagine a comic book for men that shows the hero's power coming from jock itch.
That seems to be the equivalent of this, yes.
Oh boy.
And also says, might be a better as one woman show off Broadway. Yeah, it would certainly fit with some.
There's just even if you're doing it as a comedy, again, I can see why that script never got made. It works best maybe at most as a skit. On
as a
Saturday
one-off
Live.
short thing, yeah.
Yeah. And Straight White Mage says 2003 Spider Babe already done. Read Spider Babe, so I don't know how close they are, but now it's being done again. And Mr. Tickle Trunk says, if Clark's comic was a Tick parody, I'm in. Yeah, you know what? It does sound like a Tick parody, doesn't it?
Well, isn't the Tick already kind of a semi-parody of comics in general?
Well, of course it was. So that's why exactly.
Making a parody of a parody.
Yeah, that's exactly what I mean. And then we have another one from our good friend Mexican Iron Man. And Tom, you have to do this one. It's in the private chat.
Once upon a time, there was a Mexican who loved Midnight's Edge with all his heart, all his iron heart. Now that Mexican is at a post-mental health clinic. Why? Find out. Back up the stream.
Mexican Americans
Thank
don't
you for that,
like
Mike.
gang fights. They like flowers and women and girls named Debbie too. Mexican, not a Mexican. Thank you very much. Thank you, Andre.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Literature Devil. Thank you.
All right.
And then the DCV Titan says for $5 in J.K. Simmons' voice, which I can't do. Think, Andre, think. If you don't have butter on the popcorn, the salt just goes to the bottom of the bag. And then what do you have? Well, at least you don't have disgusting buttery popcorn. So there's that.
I'll never get this man to learn.
And
what will you have after 500 kernels? I'll have you, popcorn. Good stuff.
And Dash D also says for $5 Canadian, hey Tom, stopped by the hunting store and picked you up a red devil.
I had to look up what that was. Evidently, that's pizza up there, it looks like, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, okay.
Help me out here, script.
Red Devil?
Yeah.
It's not ringing any bells for me.
Well, I know it's a nickname for the Shiba Inu. You know, like the douche dog.
Oh, is it? Well, I don't think he
Yeah.
picked that up at the store.
Certainly not the hunting store.
No, and maybe I was assuming like the hunting store like might be like a gas station is here. You know, you can get some beer and minnows and shit like that. Yeah,
I just want to say that last song was a protest song.
it was. He's protesting being Mexican right now.
I'm protesting. No, I'm protesting the ex.
Oh, your ex-girlfriend? Oh, I protest those too.
No, man.
Oh, the Latinx thing. Gotcha.
Yeah,
And as
well,
Dash-
on the third attempt.
And speaking of Dash Dees, she's got one here on screen. You're right, Dash Dees. This character, Maya, is basically the spleen from Mystery Men. You're not wrong. Does anybody else remember that character, the one that Paul Rubens played in the movie?
Oh yeah, he was like perpetually stuck as a teenager. And
Yeah, he's got all the
puberty.
zits and he stinks, and that's all his. Yeah, all the bad things about puberty. That's his fucking superpower. Exactly. I don't think you're wrong. Yeah.
All right, and then let's see if we can get the next one. The wake down says, not really related to the conversation, but I am curious. What's everyone take on the Kibblesmith stepdad picture?
Oh, I saw that.
Other than
I've not seen this. What's this? Is this Daniel Kibblesmith of like?
yeah, they
US
photoshopped stepdad onto the T-shirt that he wore with his, I guess,
Yeah.
wife.
Yeah, I didn't give it much mind paying. I didn't pay it much mind, however you want to say it.
Yeah, his wife says, "Hi, I'm pregnant," and he's wearing a shirt that says, "Hi, pregnant, I'm dad," but someone photoshopped it to say stepdad, and pretty funny.
I found it here. I found it. Let's see.
The funniest part about that is that people didn't know it was real or not. That's how much of a soy boy that guy is. They don't know if it's real.
Yeah, exactly. I thought it was real at first. So.
Yeah, me too. I was like, that's pretty fitting with Kibblesmith's personality. Yeah.
I would say that's heightened awareness for his personality.
I mean, there's like those Star Wars YouTuber guys. What was his name? I forgot what his name was. But they dress up as a Princess Leia for his girlfriend or whatever it is at a con. It's like he just parades in a Princess Leia outfit in front of like hundreds of people or so. Yeah, if those guys are willing to do that unironically, to go ahead and do that, then yeah, I wouldn't see anything so mysterious about Kibblesmith wearing a shirt that says, "Hi, I'm stepdad." I don't see anything so outrageous or out of the ordinary about that at all.
I'm more with Dearest here. He's married to a woman.
Yeah, that's also pretty interesting because I could have I saw Yellow Flash's video on him. I could have sworn that he was gay. Maybe she's like a beard or something like that. Maybe like she's there to make it look like he's not gay or something. I don't know, because he didn't seem very interested in women.
Yeah, I was gonna say yeah. Well, like not only that, yeah, like the girl tried kissing him and he acted like he was about to barf, and he was like so like preoccupied with one of the other guys on the show or some shit.
Yeah, so nothing wrong with that. I was just saying, look, that's just kind of interesting that he's married to a woman now, because I just by viewing his actions and stuff, I could have sworn he was gay. I just thought he was.
What do you want to bet that the woman's also photoshopped in there as well?
That's a pretty.
She looks big compared to him, and it's not even just like a forced perspective thing. Just in general, they look the same size.
Well, what's worse is when I saw this picture at first, I didn't even realize if that's his wife. If it is, I thought, oh, maybe he's the surrogate or whatever. That's what I was like. He's like, because here's the thing. It was like, yeah, this guy. I mean, like you were just saying, literature double. I don't give a shit if he's gay, because we all have had friends like that. So like we had that one friend when I was younger. We're like, obviously this guy's gay, and he was in denial for the longest time. 10 years later, he's married to some guy. I mean, it's like, duh, we tried telling you all that time. You could have been happy with your life, if you just listened to us.
Exactly.
Yeah, but we'll leave their private lives to it, and if they're really expecting them, then good on them, and congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations to the guy.
Exactly, congratulations to the guy, and I'm sure he's fine, and we're all better off for New Warriors never being released.
And the super knowledgeable Stephanie Janicek has alerted me that the Red Devils is a fishing lure.
Ah, okay, well that explains it. So it's not just then, the Shiba Inu dog. I don't know how to pronounce that. That like the DOG, like that coin, that Bitcoin ripoff for a joke. How do you
Doge
pronounce
or
that?
Dogi or something?
Yeah, exactly. Doge or something like that. Not douche, evidently. Although the Shiba Inu apparently is something of a douche dog, which is why it's also called the Red Devil. Yeah, moving on. Straight White Mage says for $5, Stargate is inoculated against wokeness. Episodes in first season about girl power and exclusion, but after that, just good stories. Have hope. Okay, Straight White Mage, I have bad news for you. You would think that Star Trek was inoculated against wokeness, wouldn't you? Well, look at that. Look what happened to Star Trek. Stargate is by no means safe. And then Dash D's says, so the world relies on a 10-year-old neighbor 2 nights a week. I guess, yeah. And let's see if we have some more recent ones since then. Then we have, you got this one, and Red Mask says for $9.99. Thank you so much. Clark's comic is sounding like the feminist short story in the Rick and Morty plot train episode, where Beth and Summer shoot rainbows out of their snatches. If that happened, yeah, it does kind of sound like that.
And we got I got something here. This is pretty awesome. We got Daniel Harmon's new book for those who are fans. Our good buddy Jesse Miller just alerted me to this. The Wild One, with a very interesting new character. You look very uninterested there, Andre. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a dead ringer look right there.
Look at that chest, though.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty funny.
Well, unfortunately, I have to get going, it seems. But thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
No problem.
Yeah, we're about to round out.
Yeah, we're just rounding out ourselves.
Anyway,
so check out Literature Devil's channel. Every morning he goes live. And anything else you want to plug or sell?
Yeah, just the only thing that's coming up soon is I just sent a bunch of pages to my colorist for Dr. Alpha. We're almost getting to the ending part of that, but I'll be coming out with a video soon called 12 Rules for Writing. So
there you go.
It'll be fun. But thanks for having me on.
Absolutely, man. It's always a blast to have you. Thanks for hanging in there as long as you did, and we appreciate it.
Yes, and the link is, of course, in the description. There you can find the link to Literature Devil's channel. So to subscribe. It was great to meet with you and talk with you for the first time, because we actually haven't met before this stream.
Yeah, it's good meeting you.
We'd be happy to have you back anytime.
Awesome, appreciate it. You all have a good day.
Likewise.
Take care.
Take care. And then KitKat says Doomcock's latest video consists of nothing but him singing a song in that beautiful, beautiful voice. Oh, it's cool. Very cool. We'll have to check that out. And then let's see what more we can bring up on screen here. Adam Wofford says, so The Guardian has supposed a while back, should gamers be accountable for their in-game war crimes? So how many of us would how many of yous would left after being put in prison, serving thousands of life sentences? So basically, The Guardian suggested that gamers need to be put in jail for war crimes for playing video games.
Are you fucking kidding me?
It was real. Well, that's something The Guardian would write, isn't it?
That's not even like a mind crime, for fuck's sake. I mean, Jesus.
Well, luckily, this is probably just an editorial.
I hope so. I mean, obviously, but still, just the fact that people can't even get to that point. Never mind. I'm not even going to say it.
Yeah, no, let's not even go. I want to see the article first. And then let's see what else we have here. I'm just going to do a quick refresh, make sure I don't lose anything along the way. No, that should be it. Then we should be pretty caught up, unless something has arrived in the last few seconds.
Let me double check here, but I think we are caught up, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Usually this seems about the time. So yeah, check out Literature Double. We want to thank him again for hopping in. That is always a pleasure to get to talk to him. And Script Doctor, of course, it's always great when you got the time to join us. And Polly as well. Polly, tomorrow morning we have Midnight's Edge Espanol, but we also have some other awesome events coming up. Do we not?
We do. So Polly, take us away. What do we have coming later today and tomorrow?
All right. Two big things for Midnight's Edge. Midnight's Edge Espanol tonight. Join me and the gang. We're going to watch Stand Deliver Watch Party. If anyone has never seen it, want to watch it with us, we'll have the links. So the link's up on the Midnight's Edge Espanol page. And that way we can, all get, can get fresh in our minds. 7:30 Pacific tonight. 7:30 p.m. Pacific tonight is the watch party. Then tomorrow morning, is the official watch party here. The official panel, reunion panel here with Robert Meyer Burnett and the cast, including Lou Diamond Phillips and Edward James Olmos, Mr. Olmos. That is happening. Those are the two big things tonight and tomorrow.
Yes. So everyone be sure to check that out. First, watch party of Stand and Deliver the movie over on Midnight's Edge Espanol later tonight. And then tomorrow, it's the actual reunion panel, live reunion panel, featuring Mr. Edward James Olmos and Lou Diamond Phillips and others, hosted by Robert Meyer Burnett, tomorrow at Midnight's Edge.
And for the Los Angeles Latino Theater, is that what it is, Polly? I always fuck up the name. I'm sorry.
Yeah. And for those wondering, Sander Hammerslag wonders, what time is that in Central European time?
Oh boy.
Well, the watch party, that is quite late. That is actually at 4:30 a.m. in the morning, Central European time. But not the actual reunion panel. That's tomorrow at 7 p.m. in the evening, so 1900 hours tomorrow, Central European time. So that's a good time for everyone.
Yeah, and then in about an hour and a half, me and Script Doctor have a part 2 of our Superman and Lois breakdown.
Yeah, check that out.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm watching the new Space Jam trailer. Just came out.
Oh.
And how awful is that?
So far, just as awful as the last ones.
Perfect. All right, and with that, we would like to say thank you to everyone for having joined us. We look forward to seeing you, and maybe, just maybe, we'll be having a spontaneous Loki review panel later on, after Script and Polly has finished on Espanol, and before the watch party. Maybe we'll be able to squeeze in a Loki episode 1 review panel. No promises, but we'll see. And with that, it is time for some koalas in the rain.
Koalas in the rain, koalas in the rain, no fucks given. Koalas in the rain.